Hello, everyone. Did you see the great start to the show with Pat's little kissy faces? He was trying to give you guys a big smooch to say thank you for coming to the show and watching when we post this, because
That was my shocked face.
oh, your shocked face, because it's a lovely Sunday morning here in North
My kiss my,
Carolina.
my my kissy face would be more like this.
Oh, it kind of like jingles. I see it little jingling there. I see how you do to the women. Okay.
Um, yes.
You can just agree. That's fine. That's good.
I
That's
don't
good.
know what the hell he's talking about.
Yes, it's a good old Sunday morning, August 18th. August 18th. Let's just take a moment here. It is past the halfway mark through August. My son goes back to school on the 27th, which is a Tuesday. So next Tuesday.
I think my sister, my older sister, who's a teacher, starts again tomorrow, which
Yes,
for
well,
here is like super early. It's like, of course, when I was still in school, we're going back 25 years now. Um, we never
longer
started
for me.
we never started before Labor Day, so
I think
that so
once
that
we did.
yeah, so that was so like to hear what schools are saying like, oh, they start before Labor Day. I'm like, what? But let me look this up real quick. I know my younger sister, where the school she teaches, which is also the school to where um all my nieces and nephews go. I think she told me they don't go back until after Labor Day, so they got like
Oh,
2 more weeks.
it's good.
They're in Jersey. They're not in Pennsylvania.
Gotcha. And
Um,
like North Carolina, down here we have year-round schools for elementary and middle school till you get to high school. I think there's a handful of high schools that do year-round in North Carolina, but the majority of them are traditional. So yeah, there's kids who, so for year-round, how it worked for him when he was in year-round was he ended his, just say, seventh grade around like the second week of June and pretty much had 2 weeks off
yeah.
and then went back to school like a day or two after the 4th of July. But, he really had no summer. But with that being said, year-round school also does have what they call breakouts. There's four breakouts per year, which is about 3 weeks long. And
Hmm.
depending on what specific track you're in, there's four tracks. It can make your Thanksgiving break a little bit longer. It can make your Christmas break a little longer, your spring break a little longer, whatever the case may be. It all depends on what track you're in and how the days, the holidays fall and all that stuff. But yeah, they could be like 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks at that point. But it is kind of nice to have, like, he liked year-round school for the fact that he got those four breakouts per year because it is kind of helpful in regards to that. And those breakouts, I don't remember if they truly aligned up with like the end of the first quarter, second quarter, third, and all that jazz. I don't really think they did for the most part, but a different aspect of how, you know, school is in other states. But, now that he's in high school, and so here's the other thing. It's halfway through August. He goes back to school on the 27th, and he will be starting his sophomore sophomore year. Oh, I feel old. Okay. Yeah, his sophomore year. So now
You're old.
I I know I'm not AJ old, but I am old. Um yep, because he turns 50 before I do. So um
Well,
hence why I said that.
yeah, yeah, I mean, that is good empirical evidence.
Yeah, because what he turns 49 this November, and then next year he will be the five O's.
Yeah, my younger sister turns 40 next July, and I think I may have mentioned this. I don't really remember now. I like jokingly, or maybe half jokingly, texted her and said,
What?
"Hey,
You were
we want
joking.
do you want us to throw you a big birthday party next year?" And she's all like, "No." And I'm like, "Oh, but we want to do is a celebration or blah blah blah." And then I think I said something. Hey, if I get your kids on board,
Oh, you're SOL at that point. Your kids are gonna be all about it.
yeah, that's why
She's gonna be screwed.
yeah, that's the way I look at it. I'm like, if I propose the thought to your children who are aged, 13, 7.5, 7.5, and just about 6, um, and they say yes, then it's like,
Well, and if her other half decides to say yes to that too, she's really, really effed.
well, yeah, therein lies the problem. Yeah, I guess maybe. Uh, my nieces and nephews are kind of weird these days, though. Let me just pull this up real quick because this is.
All kids are weird these days. Just
I know, but this is like something that I really.
they went a little extra.
This is the stuff that it's like I wish I would could have been there for. Um,
Ah, gotcha, gotcha.
so yesterday afternoon, my sister texted this in our group text with both of my sisters, my mother and myself. My younger sister text Wesley, that's my youngest nephew, just got into a fight with a squirrel, a heated verbal altercation. And I'm like, oh, what did he tell the squirrel? And she
Squirrel.
says, he screeched at it for eating their chalk. The squirrel screeched back. Everyone was pissed. I said the squirrel would probably die from eating sidewalk chalk, to which Eleanor, that's my younger niece, replied, good. I like dead squirrels. And I just went, what the? So I said, how and why did the squirrel eat the chalk? Because they left it laying around outside, kind of just basically trying to say, it's their own fault.
Oh my God, that is too
Um,
funny.
and then my mother chimed in because I guess she must have been there to witness this at some point, if it was yesterday or a previous day. No, they were inserting pieces of their chalk in the tree bark, creating something. I saw it the other day. Oh yeah, there she saw it the other day. And then my older sister said, if it's in the tree, it belongs to the squirrel. And I got to admit, yeah, I agree with that. If they're gonna go putting the chalk in the tree, then the squirrel's not gonna is gonna say, "Oh, what's this?" I don't know if one can die from eating chalk. I would imagine it's probably not helpful. But if
Yes.
they suddenly find a dead squirrel carcass laying around the property sometime soon, next time I see the kids, I'm gonna be like, "So I hear you're into murdering squirrels now?" I'm sure my sister would appreciate me saying that, but it's gonna be like, dude, you gotta be nice to animals. You have a dog who's older than all of you.
It's
And you guys,
funny.
and you guys barely seem to acknowledge her existence. It's like, I cannot. And my sister's dog, she's 15, but she doesn't seem to be like on her way out or anything like that. She's, still pretty spry and active for a 15-year-old dog.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, she's a puggle. Um,
Oh, okay.
I'm just like, I really wonder if they're going to get a new dog whenever she goes because the kids don't seem interested in her.
No.
Like, I don't think they're going to care about getting a new one either. Meanwhile, my dog's been dead for 5.5 years and I'm still not over it.
Yeah, and it'd be nice if you were able to have another one, too.
Well, that's just it. If I could get another dog, I would, but I can't because of where I live and financial reasons. But
I
uh,
didn't really. That's weird. Like they don't like your place. No pets at all. None.
not in this building. There are other buildings that do allow pets in this complex, but my building is a no pet building.
Why?
Yeah. I never really asked the reasons because it's like, doesn't really matter what the reasons are. It is what it
I
is.
just find it weird that it's a weird thing where you have a pet building and a no pet building.
Yeah, it's so you see my building. You know how like my building sits kind of like this
Hmm.
against like in the roadway goes like this. And then there's the other building that's right here,
Yeah.
if you remember. This building is a pet building, and it's also 4 floors, whereas mine's only three. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I doubt it,
No, no, definitely shouldn't.
but yeah, I've definitely seen, people come out of that building with pets, and it just makes me go, God damn it, why did I get put in a no pet building? Is because like they just called and said, "Hey, we have this apartment available," and I just immediately said yes. Probably was. I mean, I should have asked before I agreed to anything, but like I said, I don't know if I'd really be able to financially take care of a pet right now anyway. So
Yeah, no, I get it. That just stinks in regards to that, you know.
yeah, I mean, because like we didn't get a new dog after our last dog died. My parents, getting up there, and I mean, like we were thinking about maybe trying to do something for them last year about getting them a new dog, and my mother just finally said, "No, I don't think your dad and I are really capable of taking care of a dog anymore because they're in their 70s.
It's challenging.
Neither one of them moves around especially well, for
And
various
and
reasons,
and not
So
have and dealing with a puppy, especially if you got to adopt them a puppy, that would be super challenging for them.
I doubt we would have gotten them a puppy,
Gotcha. Like
but
an older dog that needs a home would have been great, you
yeah.
know.
I think that's what we were trying to find, but we didn't get very far before my mother's like, no, just forget it. So we're like,
Gotcha.
it would have been nice, but so
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I get where you're coming from with that.
yeah. Dogs are
100%.
great until, they suck. And dogs only really suck in two circumstances. One, when they're pains in the ass,
Doing something
which
they're not supposed to, of
which of
course.
course can be at various times throughout their lives.
Yes,
And two, of course, is when they get old and sick and then die. So
correct. Yes. The heartache of that is not one that's fun to deal with, and no matter what.
yeah, I mean, I've had in my life, I've only ever had three dogs. One was taken from us because he got out and got hit by a car.
Mm,
One died because, and again, it's like the other two, they didn't die naturally. We had to put them down.
gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
Um, the second
Uh,
one, the first one that we had to put down, she literally couldn't eat anymore. Like the last couple of days, she tried to eat and then like it came right back up. So it's like, what are we supposed to do? Let her starve to death? It was
yeah.
very much a mercy kill, I guess you could say in that respect. And with our last dog, it pretty much was the same in the sense that he was just sick. He didn't have any life to him really anymore in the sense of he'd gone through a lot the last couple of years. Like various things had started developing and happening, and we did everything we could for him, but he just started just going like down and down and down, and it was just like, yeah, it's
Yeah, it's challenging. I mean, we haven't like, you know, Tammy has dealt with that aspect growing up because they've always had dogs and whatnot, and some cats too. I've only been on the side of the cat aspect where, three of the cats that we've had, you know, one got sick and had to be put down, and all three of them, were sick at some point. But the one only, lived till like 12, and then the other two lived till like 19 and 21, as far as cats are concerned. So they lived a long life, but they just ran into health issues as well. So
yeah,
it was the point where like, yeah, we can give them meds to they can live for another 6 months. And I'm
there
like,
are three different jokes. Yeah,
and it's kind of like at the point like that's, you know, 19, 20 years for as long as they've lived. That's, you know, them feeling comfortable and not being able to be themselves. I know they're only, animals per se, but they do think and have a mind, so that's not going to be good for them. So it's just, let's do what we got to do. I had to put all three of them down, unfortunately. So the dog aspect will come at some point in my life.
yeah. And I looked it up. My sister teacher, she doesn't. Their first day of school is not until next Monday, the 26th. But I guess this week she's got to be
She's
back
got
in
to,
school getting prepped and everything, which
yeah, yeah,
obviously makes sense. So
yeah. Yeah, and speaking
she
of
she
dog,
she she needs it too because she's been whiny ever since she had half her thyroid removed several weeks ago and complaining that she's like so lethargic and she can't pull herself out of bed in the morning and asking me all these questions about when you had your thyroid taken out, how long did it take you to get back to normal? I'm like, it was 3.5 years ago. I didn't keep a diary. I was back at work after a week.
uh,
I mean,
like,
yeah.
sis, get your ass out of bed.
Well, that's basically what I was saying to her. And I'm like, dude, you got to start school. You like, I said probably half the reason. And she's like, oh, I'm taking the online classes. And she is. She's doing like graduate class work online and shit. So she has to do work for that, but she doesn't have to go anywhere, you know? And so she keeps on, I'm just saying, you'll be fine once you have somewhere to be in the morning again.
Yeah. She's the youngest one, right?
No, this is the older one.
Oh, the older one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So last night she was sending out stuff in a text message about don't mean to delve into politics essentially. She
Gotcha.
was sending she sent like a link to like a Newsweek article about some House committee that's investigating the attempted assassination and about how apparently the assassin's body wasn't there when this one congressman went to like have it examined or something like that. And so she's trying to push like conspiracy theory stuff. And I told her that she was totally misreading the article. And I pointed out why. Because she's trying to say that it was an inside job of the sense that like Trump arranged it.
Oh God. Here we go.
Yeah, yeah. And I basically was telling her, I said, no, the guy who's conducting this investigation is trying to prove that it was like a government job. And that, like, because they think the FBI has had it in for Trump, for a while because they investigated him over the Ukraine shit, the January 6th stuff, just
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But finally, I just told her, I said, you know what? I'm not interested in hearing anymore about fucking conspiracy theories, no matter what kind of conspiracy theories they are. Because once you start going down that hole, it's very difficult to get yourself out of it. You can
Yes.
get wrapped up in that shit very easily. I remember Jeremy sent us that link yesterday, the day before, and said he started going down a rabbit hole. I won't get into what that was about because that's not fair to Jeremy. Um, but yeah, you can get
Oh,
into
he's
that.
not on the show today, so all's fair in love and war. Let's go.
Well,
No, I'm
and when
only
he
kidding.
watches this, I don't want him getting mad at me. I'm not trying to embarrass him or anything like that.
I know. I'm
But
kidding.
anyways,
I'm
so
kidding.
I just told my sister, please just stop sending conspiracy theory shit. And then she came back with some kind of comment about, oh, I need to keep myself occupied because of blah 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 blah. And I'm like, aren't you doing
You
graduate
read
class
that
work?
stuff?
Aren't you? Yeah, aren't you doing like graduate class work? Aren't you? Aren't you? Isn't your school year about to restart and everything? So I finally was just like so pissed, and I was just like my brain was at a point because this was later last night where I was just like ah. So I sent a GIF of Gordon Ramsay screaming, "I've had enough."
It's like, hey, you still have a Barnes and Nobles? You have Amazon books. Go find yourself a new novel. Read a novel. Keep yourself occupied.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, if you feel like you need time to do something. Actually, you know what I should tell her to do? I should tell her to go buy a Switch and go buy Lego Star Wars. That'll keep her occupied for fucking hours. Because I know it's done that to me.
Yes, it will. Yes, 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 yes. Indeed, it will.
I have completed all 9 episodes in totality, though I still have a few challenges to finish in a few levels. And of course,
Mm.
now I'm doing all the free play stuff, and I'm still only at about 73%. There's
Yeah,
a
take.
ton. There is literally a ton of shit to do. And every time I think,
Yes.
oh, I'll play for an hour, I go, shit, that was 3 hours ago. It's like
Or
playing. It's like playing fucking Civilization 2 again. You swear
it,
you've only played for an hour, and all of a sudden it's 5 in the morning.
and then it's one of those things where like, okay, well, I got three-quarters of this planet done and all of its stuff. I got all the bricks. I only need 16 more. Uh, and it's okay. Let me finish these 16 before I go to bed. Yeah. And then just like you're like, well, it's only 1:42 in the morning. I can start the next planet. And you kind of do it. And then it's like
Yeah,
6 a.m. and you're like, oh, I guess I should sleep for a little bit. Yeah.
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 My thing has always been
Legos games do that. All the Legos, every single Lego game I've played has done that to me in some
yeah,
aspect.
yeah.
Every
Like
single one.
like the thing that I've been doing lately is like I said, I'm going through the free play. And at first, what I did was I did like the original trilogy episodes first, completed all of them. Got
Okay.
finished them. Not well. See, that's the thing with that game. There's a difference between like I guess finished and completed. Finished, I guess, means you played through every episode. Completed means you got 100% on every episode. So I
You,
have got 100% on every episode. So I'll just say finished. But anyway, I went back and I started doing the free play on the planets from the original trilogy, the ones that were unlocked. So you got Tatooine, Hoth, Bespin, Endor, a couple others,
Hmm.
Dagobah. But then as I was like reading through like some of like the online guides and everything, I was realizing, oh, there's so much stuff that doesn't become unlocked until you go through and unlock every planet from the whole saga. So when I was doing the prequels, I started going through the planets again, but then I was realizing how extensive a couple of those prequel planets are, specifically like Coruscant and Naboo,
Oh
which
yeah,
both have
especially
like two levels
yeah,
essentially. I said, you know what? I'm gonna finish playing through all 9 episodes. So I have all the planets unlocked, and then that way it'll get me through like all the missions and everything, and like everything will become unlocked. And the funny thing is, as I'm like going through like the little quest in the screen, there's still so many things that say that they're locked, and I can't unlock them either. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And I got into that last night. I was back on Tatooine for some reason. Oh, because I was on Mustafar, which is a pain in the ass
it is.
because the map is hard to follow, the levels are weird, and it's dark. The dark planets are hard to follow. Like in parts of like Utapau, for example, I'm like, I can't see where I am. I can't see what I'm doing. I have the
Yeah.
brightness set all the way up on my television. So
Yeah. Some of them are a pain in the ass. They are.
yeah, so like on Mustafar, there's one spot where you need like a password to get into a room where one of the Kyber bricks is.
Ah,
That
yes, yes.
password is on Tatooine in the Jawa village. And I'm like, Jawa village? I don't think I've ever been to the Jawa village on Tatooine. And sure enough, I found out I hadn't. It was just in one part of the Tatooine map I had never gone to. So I go and I get the password, but then I see that there's like the little Jawas with the little character icons above them saying, oh, there's a mission. And that led to me doing like 8 missions in a row because they were all about going to other planets and finding a droid that they had sold to somebody else who was now not acting properly. And you had to go and defeat the droid. And then so it's like I did all that, and then I'm like, and then like it keeps on like after I finish one, it keeps on saying new mission unlocked, new mission unlocked, new mission unlocked.
And it just sucks you in. It just
Yeah.
really does.
And then it was like, and then it like took me back to like another part of Tatooine where I had to go recover like another droid. But then as I finish recovering that droid, then I get a message saying all the prior droids that I had recovered, they've now banded together into like a super group that you have to defeat. And I'm like, holy shit!
Yep. Yep. That game is so every time I play Lego games, I always put it this way. I finish story mode and then I'm going back to free mode to do all the quests. That game is a little different than most of the other ones because I feel like they definitely added extra. Like free mode is just, I feel like the free, once you go to all the planets through every movie per se, um, the free mode in this one is just like so expansive with all the crazy missions and all the things you unlock. It's like you're jumping around all over the place. And
Yeah,
it's kind of like I've never seen a game that it's really the first Lego game that's been that crazy.
yeah. I mean,
So,
I,
and
I kind of like the fact too that it's like,
it
sorry to
took
interrupt,
it took
but it's like
Nico a
that
while
like
to finish that game.
yeah, but I like the fact that you get like a mission on one planet and it's telling you to go to a planet that has like nothing to do with the other planet and or that it's like from completely different parts of the saga.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like I was on Utapau yesterday at one point, and I found this mission where it was like, oh, there's pieces of this door missing. I wrote down all the data I have for it on this pad, and it was like directing you to 6 other planets to look for like other pieces. But here's the thing too. It was like this thing where you had to, on these 6 planets, there was like a circular stone formation where you had to like, in order to like get it to like activate, you had to use your force powers to get somebody to go inside the stones and start dancing, which
yes.
I always find is
I
hilarious the
I
way they start
remember that.
dancing.
I remember that one.
But like I noticed those storm formations on at least a couple of the planets I'd been to. And I remember I was trying to like fight them or do some of them. And I'm like, this means something. And I sort of finally found out what they meant, was so happy. But it was like, yeah, from Utapau, it was directing you to there was one on Hoth,
Hmm.
there was one on Naboo, there was one on Endor, there was one on Dagobah. Um, And now I can't remember where the other two were.
Oh, I definitely don't remember.
But I'm like, so yeah, it's like it's directing you to planets from different, parts of the, like the saga. So it's like, oh, a planet that you were only on that it's only seen in episode three is telling you to go to a planet from episode five.
Yep.
I kind of like that part of it and everything.
Oh,
But
it's
yeah, it's like
it's
that's the
it's
thing. Like
it's
you
definitely
start
fun.
getting sucked into it then too, where it's like, oh, I'm not going to leave this mission half completed. I'm going to do it all now.
And the thing about like, so Nico completed that game like 100%. I think it took him a couple months. Not as long, their kids, they have more time on their hands than I do, but
Yeah.
I think I am at 89 or 80 or 89% completion of that game. And that's where I left off. I haven't played that game in months, dude. I haven't played that game
Yeah.
since last
I
year.
I like I said, I'm at around like 73, 4, 5%. I've barely done anything on any of the sequel trilogy planets. I've done like a couple things here and there, but most all of the sequel trilogy planets I still have to go through.
Okay.
Um, the other thing that I really suck at, there's two types of side missions or puzzles or trials, whatever you want to call them, because I know the game has them arranged in like different,
Yeah.
different names and stuff. The two things that I really suck at, anything that you have to complete within a short period of time, which is usually like the target practice games, like there's ones where you have to shoot like all
Oh,
the targets in like 15
yeah, yeah.
seconds.
Yeah, those are fun.
And,
I have
and I'm
fun
always
doing
like
those.
getting turned around. I'm like, oh, there's the first, there's the second, there's the third. Where the fuck's the fourth? You know,
I
the
know, I
other the
know.
other thing that I really suck at is I suck at the races.
Oh, dude,
Anything
I
with
love
race,
them.
especially in space, I'm really terrible at. Now, here's the thing that
I
I don't
love them.
know. Here's the thing that I don't know yet. I don't know if it's because I find the sensitivity because I've pretty much played this exclusively through the docking station on my TV, right?
Okay, yeah, that's fun.
So I'm using the controller.
That's fun.
And I sometimes think that the controller with the direction is a little too sensitive
Mhm. It might be.
because from playing Mario Kart 64, because I have like the N64 stuff, from playing that on the TV with the controller versus just playing that on the Switch, I found that it's sometimes a little easier to steer on just the Switch itself. So I'm thinking with some of
Hmm.
those racings ones, I might need to just try to do it on the Switch and see if I'm any better. But then of course I'll also be saying I'll be looking at a smaller screen and maybe I'll miss where it's directing me to and shit like that because
Hmm.
yeah, there's so many characters I need to unlock in the space areas and it's because I haven't been able to beat the race in time and I'm like you fucking race. Like I was doing
I,
some race on Tatooine yesterday in like one of the speeders
oh,
and it was kind of a long race too and it's like you had to complete it I think in like 50 seconds to unlock I think it was Reese, from the three-eyed guy from Return of the Jedi from Jabba's palace.
yeah, yeah.
And like the first time I did it I didn't do very well because I hit into like a few like cave walls and shit and I still only was like 5 or 6 seconds behind. So I'm
Huh.
like, shit, I can actually do this again and maybe actually complete it. And I did, and I beat it by like a second. I'm like, sweet, I beat it, and I never have to do this again.
I know, I know.
Like
Yeah,
there was,
I love the races, man. Those
yeah,
those are fun for me.
there was one. The only thing that I hadn't completed in the story mode for Empire Strikes Back was in like the asteroid field level. One of the mini kit
Oh,
objectives, or maybe it was one of the challenges. I can't remember. It was one of the two. Mini kit challenge, same thing, essentially. It was like
yes.
you could only do it in free play too. It's like when the third Star Destroyer shows up, you have to fly under the Star Destroyer to start a race, and then you have to fly around like the other two Star Destroyers and hit like I think it was like 20 of like the little like target things
Oh,
balls
yeah. Yeah.
within a certain amount of time. And the first couple times I tried it, I was no good at it. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna leave this one for the side. But then like after I finished the sequel trilogy, I'm like, let me see if I can go back and finish a couple of the things from the that I haven't finished yet. And I'm like, well, let me go with that one first. And I failed like twice, and then the third time I got, I'm like, great, now I never have to do it again.
Yep.
There's a few challenges that I think I'm at the point now where there's 5 challenges throughout the whole 9 episodes that I haven't done, and those are the only things. Like in A New Hope, I haven't been able to shoot down Vader,
Oh,
and
really? Okay.
mostly because I keep losing track of where he is. He blends in with the background, and the other cop
Yeah.
players are shooting you relentlessly. So I haven't been able to do that. And I've got all of Empire now. I got all the Jedi. In Phantom Menace, in the Gungan droid battle, there's the part where you're shooting the cannon and you have to kill 300 droids in one shot.
Oh, that took me a couple times to do that.
I have not been able to do that yet. Like the highest number I remember seeing coming up was like 280 or something, but I'm like, I haven't been able to get a full 300. So, and all the guides I've read about that basically say this is your best bet for aiming, but it's still a crapshoot. So I could be on that one for a while. I don't know.
Yeah, that one took me, I think, like 18 or 19 tries to get that one.
Yeah,
Because
I've
I
done
kept,
I've done it at least 5 times that I can think of.
I think I got it to a point where I was, after like the 11th try, I was like hitting the 290s for the rest of the way consistently. And it was at that point, I'm like, I just need six more goddamn droids to fucking die. God damn it.
I just need to find 11,000 votes. No, I'm sorry.
I need to find those six droids. God damn them.
Yeah, really.
Um,
So Attack of the Clones. Oh, I haven't been able to complete the Jango Fett level without avoiding being hit by one of the sonic charges.
oh, that took me a bit to do that one too.
That level is a colossal pain in the ass because it's very hard to find him in the fucking asteroids, even though it's telling you where to go. It's like it's telling you where to go, but it's like, oh yeah, there's the asteroid in the way.
Yeah.
So
You
that
would,
one's a pain in the ass. I think I did all of Revenge of the Sith. No, the level with Grievous. You're supposed to complete the level without getting killed. I could have sworn I did,
okay.
but I think it said my companion character got killed
Uh,
because I know I never got killed. So I'm like, my companion character must have gotten killed. Something like that. I have to go back and look at that one again. And I can't remember what from the sequels I haven't finished. It's just not ringing a bell right now. It's probably again something about. Oh no, there is something else in Attack of the Clones. There's like in the Dooku level at the end.
mhm.
There's like something that you're supposed to do, which again I thought I did, but it didn't give me credit for it, so I guess I didn't do it right. So I have to go back and look at that one. And then there's something from the sequel trilogies, but I can't remember what it is.
I
Yeah,
don't think
I
I
want to say it's I
have.
want to say it's something from Rise of Skywalker, but I can't remember what.
I don't. I know I haven't finished everything from Rise of Skywalker or The Last Jedi. Those two I definitely know, and I think there's one other planet that I have. I think like 90 something percent complete of that planet, and it's like one thing I got to do. It's pretty. I don't want to say it's easy, but it's not that hard. But
Yeah, there's only 2 planets that I know of that I'm at 100% on, which are Dagobah and Camino, which to be fair, don't have a lot to them.
no.
There's only like I think like 15 bricks and maybe 3 or 4 characters slash vehicles to get on those. But it's nice to see 100%.
Yeah, yeah, no, it is. It is, yes. Yeah, those were the ones you get 100% sooner on than most. Um, some planets I had more fun playing on them than others, to be honest, as well. My enjoyability for it.
Yeah, that's the thing that I've been finding too. I get bored of looking at the same planet after a while and running over the same areas.
Yeah.
So I kind of say like, all right, let me get over 50% or let me get over 70% or let me make sure that I have more than half of the bricks. Let me make sure I've got the data card if it's a level with a data card.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go to another planet just so I don't have to keep looking at this planet. Because some of the planets are very pretty to look at, but then they get very old to look at.
Old pretty quick.
Like
100%.
Naboo especially the city of Theed, is a wonderful looking area. And after a while, it becomes way too wonderful looking. And it's like, yeah, let me go look at the deathscape that is Mustafar.
Yeah, I know, right? Let's go look at some death.
Let's
Let's go
go
look at
look at
some grim.
lava and ash and smoke and fire.
Let's break up the monotony with this one.
Oh,
100%.
I can't wait until I start doing fucking Exegil because that's obviously the ugly, well, not ugliest, but um bleakest, I guess maybe
Yeah, I would say
planet has to
bleakest.
be. So, um,
Yeah.
and some of the planets you start seeing the similarities too. It's like, especially I think there was one mission where I had to go to all three planets in quick order. There's not a lot of difference between Tatooine, Jakku, and Geonosis, except that Geonosis is rockier, but they're all brown, you know?
They are. 100% they are. Yep. Yep.
So it's a fun game, but again, like I said, it is definitely one of those games that you're swearing like, oh, I've only been playing for half an hour. What do you mean it's 10:30? I started playing at 7.
I know. It goes fast. It definitely goes fast. Um, the time when you're just playing those games. They're just like so intense in regards to how they're set up and whatnot. So,
Yeah.
but no, probably like, listen, one of the best Lego games are like in my top 10 for like best like game creations of all time for video games. Like just all of them. I think
Yeah.
my favorite Lego game of all time was Vice City. Oh, not Vice City. What was it called?
It was like they did Lego Vice City.
Yeah, what the hell was it called? Now I gotta Google it because it was very 80s and 90s themed.
Okay.
God damn it.
Do you mean Miami Vice?
No, no, hold on.
Okay, because I'm just saying, I'm like, I can't imagine they did a Lego GTA game.
No, that's uh,
That seems way too mash up.
where is it? Oh, here
Hey,
it is. Here it is.
do you like the
Lego,
GTA games but want to do it in
it's
a sillier way?
it's Lego City Undercover.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Here, let me pull it up. Top 10 games. Yeah. He's an undercover cop, and there's like this whole big city, and it's kind of like a open city per se for the most part. Um, but like the start of the game, there's like I think there's like a theme song from like Miami Vice or one of the 80s songs. Um, it's just it's it's a fun game. There's a lot of nostalgia with the game itself. Uh,
I saw there's a Lego Jurassic Park, and I'm pretty sure there's a Lego Harry Potter.
yes, correct. There's a Lego Indiana Jones as well.
Oh, that one I might need to check out.
There's a Lego Pirates of the Caribbean.
Ah, makes sense.
Um,
I know what there probably isn't a Lego of, but there definitely should be. That's Lego Star Trek.
yeah, there definitely is not.
Yeah. I have a feeling that they're a bit protective of the IP that is Star Trek in a lot of ways, you know. Like they try to treat it seriously, of course, so they don't want to make a
Oh
Lego,
yeah.
which I get it, but
All right, so here is well, I mean there's gonna be a lot of these, but I'm trying to
I mean,
find.
I would want to do Lego Star Trek just so I could have Kirk, Picard, uh, Cisco, and Janeway all in the same thing at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, I get you. So here is yeah, it was Undercover City. So it's very like nostalgic to the 80s for the most part with the music and all that stuff. And it's a very fun game. And there's parts where there's characters in the game that are from the 70s, from like uh what was that show? Starsky and Hutch,
Hmm.
where they drive the muscle car. There's like parts of certain nostalgia, like it replicates from like TV shows from I think you could say 70s, 80s, and maybe a little 90s, from like Starsky and Hutch to um the Green Hornet to a couple other things, like generic versions of a lot of stuff like that, right? So there's a lot of there's a lot of fun stuff in regards to it. So here is the list of the licensed properties that they've made for Lego. So we have Harry Potter, multiple ones. Of course, we have a ton of different Star Wars ones. Indiana Jones. We got DC and Marvel.
Yeah, I knew that. I
Um,
remember DC.
yeah. Pirates of the Caribbean. There's multiple Harry Potter ones too. Lord of the Rings is in there as well. That's another one.
Hmm.
Um, Lego The Hobbit. That's another one. Jurassic World is in there. And then the Marvels. And then they kind of do, oh, Lego Ninjago is on there as well. Lego The Incredibles, which I
Hmm.
played. It was okay. That came out in that they re 2018 they released like two of them. It was Lego The Incredibles and then Lego DC Supervillains. The Supervillains ones was pretty fun. It wasn't a very like long one per se. Um, and then Lego Marvel Collection. I don't think Nico played that, but I don't know if I played that one. Let's try to see like the big ones. Yeah, I mean, those are kind of the big licensed franchises that they have done. And there's been so many versions of them. Like the Star Wars has probably the most Lego games created for that property specifically.
I feel like that was the original one that they ever did.
The first one that came out, I think might have been the Harry Potter. Let me just double check.
Oh, okay.
Do 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 do. Dun, 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 dun. And they've done like a tons of stuff like on for the Game Boys, which is like their own stuff, like Lego Alpha Team, Lego Island, Knights Kingdom, like their specific branded Lego toys themselves, like Bionicles and Lego Ninjago and all that jazz.
They never done like
The
a Lego Disney of any kind.
let me do a search here.
It seems like that one would have been no
Mm,
brainer.
Well, they don't do it. They don't have a Disney specific one, but Pirates of the Caribbean per se, as a licensee is concerned, but they didn't have like a specific um Disney one, no. So it looks like properties Harry Potter was first, 2001. Lego Creator Harry Potter was on PC in 2002. Creator Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. But actually, you know what? You're not really off by making that comment because Lego Star Wars, the video game, came out in 2005, and that was the first licensed property that was on any of the consoles or handhelds.
Hmm.
So that one came out, and then the next year, 2006, Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy, and then 2007, Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga,
They're
and then
not
two,
so complete as it would turn out.
yeah, then 2008, we got Indiana Jones: The Original Adventures, and then Lego Batman, the video game. And then 2009, we got Lego Rock Band. And then Lego Indiana Jones 2, The Adventure Continues. 2010, we got the first four movies of Harry Potter. 2011, we got Lego Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars, Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, the video game, and Harry Potter years 5 through 7. Yeah. Wow. 2014, they had one, two, three, four, five that released. Holy crap.
Damn.
Marvel Superheroes, Universe in Peril, the Lego movie video game, Lego The Hobbit, Batman 3 Beyond Gotham, which was fun, and then Lego Star Wars Micro Fighters. Oh, that was an app on the phone. Okay, I'm not really gonna count that one. It's not console. Oh, and then Lego Dimensions, which I played that as well. That was a fun game, even though it was a collectible type of game. But yeah, yeah, those are. those are the franchises for Lego. Let's see. So 2022, that was the Skywalker saga. So there hasn't been a game since well, Lego Fortnite came out last year, but that's on Fortnite itself, and that's a whole different type of thing. That's a Fortnite thing. And this year, Lego Horizon Adventures, I heard about that, but I don't know what that game's about. Specifically. Open world Lego crime comedy was Lego City Underground.
Lego crime comedy?
Yeah. Plot. Police officer Chase McCain returns to Lego City after being exiled for 2 years prior. He learns from Mayor Gleason that notorious criminal Rex Fury, who Chase helped arrest, has recently escaped prison. it's 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 fun. It's a fun game. Not gonna lie. Let's see if I can find. See if I can find a video of it. Because there's elements from like New York, San Francisco, and London. There's like different elements from different cities. Like they have like an Alcatraz themed penitentiary. You have a generic Statue of Liberty, Golden Gate Bridge, JFK Space Center. There's a lot of uh, stuff like that in the game. Let's see if I can find a video to see if they do the intro. It's fun. Let's see what I can.
I'm trying not to get a Naked Gun vibe from it.
Oh, I mean, I see where you're coming from with that, but I don't. Yeah, I don't think
Oh, the
so.
way the way you described it, I was almost saying like, Naked Gun much? No.
I mean,
Do you know they're doing a remake of the Naked Gun with Liam Neeson?
Oh, yes, I saw that.
I got to admit, when I heard that, I was like, that sounds pretty funny because I'd love to see Liam Neeson doing something like totally straight when it's, an obvious comedy. Then I saw something like a week or two ago that said it's like that supposedly it's the exact same as the original Naked Gun. And I'm like, well, that's fucking pointless then.
All right, hold on. Let me do that. Me Let me share. It's been a while since I've shared my screen. That's one. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, let me turn up the volume. Can you hear it?
Yep.
It's,
Wait a minute. Can you go back there?
Thank you so much for coming back,
where?
Chase.
So where we saw the Statue of Liberty?
This city is in the grip of a crime.
yeah.
Okay. For some reason, I thought I was seeing the Statue of Liberty.
Thank you so much for coming back, Chase. This city is in the grip of a crime wave, and I'm certain Rex Fury is behind it. You're the only person I trust to stop him, Chase. Find Rex Fury and bring him to justice.
Do you have a disguise for me?
Do we ever? You look like a cop.
Well, I'm not.
Hey, Harry. How many coffees have you had?
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Did I have 6 shots or only 5? Well, okay,
You know
you've
who
had
that's
enough.
after, right?
I won't do anything that stupid again. Whoa!
Of course he won't.
Oh, it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
I mean, it looks
Uh,
like it definitely is. So yeah.
oh, that's an hour and 5 minutes of undercover cutscenes. Some of them are hilarious too, to be honest. That's a long trailer. Yeah, it's one of those things I would suggest like once you are done with or once you get whatever you want to accomplish in Lego Star Wars, definitely you could probably find Lego City Undercover cheap, to be honest, like super cheap for the Switch. It better be under $10. Shouldn't be no more than $10. But yeah, I would suggest playing that game. It's just fun. It's just a legitimately, it's a fun game. 100%. I completed that whole game. That was that like that was a game that was a game that sucked me in. Like that was probably the most sucked in Lego game I've ever had was that one. And I think the second game I got sucked into the most was one of the DC games. I think it was the second DC one they came out with, not the villains one. It was the one before that when they go into like space and whatever. Because what they did in that one, Pat, was that they had the theme songs for Superman and Wonder Woman. So like when you use Superman and you started flying, it would play the theme song from the Superman movie. And then when you used Wonder Woman and you started flying and doing stuff, it would play the theme song from the Linda Carter TV series. Like it had they were able to get like a licensing for like, music and stuff for that game. And plus it was a fun game to play. That one got me sucked in. And I had to use Superman and Wonder Woman all the time.
Yeah.
Flying around listening to their theme songs and whatnot, kicking ass, kicking some Lego brick butt. But yeah, that was a fun game too. I think that was the second Lego Batman or Justice League, Supervillain, whatever. Not Supervillain ones, but whatever the second Lego DC game was. I think that was that one when they go into outer space. And that one also too had like a ton of characters unlocked because they were actually there's so many versions of Batman. Like they had a lot of the comic book Batmans in there from like a lot of the random stories they did and like alternate Earths and stuff like that. They had a lot of characters from those in the game. So it was fun playing with those Lego characters and whatnot. But yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
shit. I mean, yeah, just not even counting comics, conceivably you could have Batman 66, Batman 89, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, because there's different actors.
And plus
Dark Knight, Batfleck, Robert Pattinson,
I think
Batman the Animated Series slash Justice League,
I think for that game, I'm trying to remember. I don't think it was the DC villains. I think it was that specific Batman game where the DCL uh packs you can buy the content. I think one of them was from they had a Dark Knight one. And I think they had another one from I think there was a Batman 89 maybe. There was one of them where you can get like the DLC packs from like older stuff. that we're accustomed to.
I'll tell you this though too. If they, did have one that was like, the Dark Knight Batman. I hope they got the voice right.
Yeah, I can't remember that part.
Like all the other Batman, you can understand what they're saying, but like the Dark Knight Batman is like, it's not about what I do.
Oh, yeah, that voice at the time didn't bother me, but at retrospect, when you go back and look at it, I'm like, why did he do that?
What was weird about it too is like when he talks when he's in the costume in Batman Begins, yeah, it's a little like, but not extremely so. And then by the time they got to Dark Knight, then he's like, oh, it made it sound like I'm like a voice box.
Yes.
Which it's like, why did Nolan and Bale do this?
Yeah, they really wanted to distinguish between the two voices of Bruce Wayne and Batman, and I just
Yeah, it's
yeah.
like, dude, nobody's gonna recognize, oh my God, that's Bruce Wayne's voice.
And to be honest, I think at that point they really could have just used, you know, the magic that is and used anytime he said his lines as Batman, just use a voice alternator to make his voice sound a little bit different. He shouldn't have made Christian Bale like do that specific voice because that's pretty strenuous on your vocal cords to be doing a voice like that for an extended period of time,
Yeah.
especially if he has to do cut after cut after cut to make sure it's right, all that jazz. That's a bit much. You know what I mean? Like Jesus
Yeah, like
Christ.
that,
Woof. Hot damn.
like if you've ever heard, this isn't a direct comparison, but it's the first thing that popped into my mind, so of course I must say it.
Okie dokie.
If you've ever listened to the Beatles version of Twist and Shout and you hear the way John Lennon is singing it, he's very much shouting the lyrics and everything with kind of like a thing in his throat. And I did that at a karaoke once years ago and
Hmm.
definitely hurts.
Oh yeah.
So like they even said because the way they put that particular album together, that was on their first album. This album can't
I
really see
see.
the glare. It's please please me. Anyway, I love my Beatles coasters. Um, like they recorded like a bunch of songs like in one day, and they left that song for last because they knew it was going to ruin his voice, and he wouldn't really be able to sing anything properly, otherwise. So it's like they left to do that song like last and everything, and they only did like I think 2 takes. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, why would you like have it be so like you're gonna be like destroying your fucking vocal cords over and over again? Like, I can do an imitation of what I call the Dr. Claw voice, which was done by Frank Welker, who's one of the most prominent voice actors ever. And it's also this essentially the same voice he used for when he did Dark Side and like the latter Super Friends seasons.
Okay.
And one of my sisters, I can't remember which one, if whenever I do it around her, she gets freaked out because she
Really?
because she thinks I'm destroying my throat. And you definitely do feel it, but not that much. It's like, I'll get you next time, Gadget. Okay. Of course, I said you don't feel it that much, and I just love maybe I haven't done it in a while or something. Or actually, it's probably because I've been so phlegmy in my throat lately, but it's sometimes like you feel it. You definitely feel something. Okay,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily hurt, but you definitely feel your throat going like
Oh yeah.
so it's yeah, you can only do so much of that at one in one sitting. That's like always maybe that's another reason why in those Inspector Gadget episodes, Dr. Claw didn't have that many lines. It's like, how many lines do you need me to record in the Dr. Claw voice today? Because I got to go do Fred for Scooby Doo later.
I know, right?
Just because that is one of the many other voices Frank Welker has done in his career. So,
Like such a different dynamic between those two characters and, the voices he has to create for them.
oh yeah, and yeah, what other voices did Frank Welker do? Oh, Frank Welker did Megatron on
Oh, yeah, yeah.
G1 Transformers. You're an idiot, Starscream. And he didn't do Galvatron in the movie because Leonard Nimoy did.
Yeah.
But obviously Leonard Nimoy wasn't going to be able to come back and do the series post movie. So Frank Welker did Galvatron again. And while Galvatron's voice sounded a lot like Leonard Nimoy's voice, though much harsher, of course, he wasn't speaking in his normal voice or his Spock voice.
Who played
Frank
Unicron then?
Orson Welles.
Oh, that's right.
But Orson Welles was like so sick at the time because he was not long before he passed away that they applied so much effects to his voice to like try to like take out like all this like wheezing and coughing noises to his
Yeah.
voice and everything. So Unicron's voice comes off. I can't even do it because again it was so vocoded and everything. It's like destroy the Matrix, you know. But when Frank Welker did Galvatron then for the last couple seasons of Transformers, he did Galvatron kind of in a higher pitched voice up here, you know, almost.
Yeah, I did
The
notice
main,
that was a change.
yeah, it was definitely different from the way Leonard Nimoy did it. And who should Frank Welker be to imitate Leonard Nimoy's voice, for one thing?
Yeah,
But he was also, of course, trying to very much make sure that he was differentiating it from Megatron,
of course.
obviously. And of course, the funny thing about that was that in the live action movies, Hugo Weaving did the voice of Megatron. But then I think he stopped doing it. And then when they introduced Galvatron, and I think it was Age of Extinction, it was Frank
Hmm.
Welker doing Galvatron's voice, but he used the Megatron voice for Galvatron in that movie. I remember when he talked, I said, he's
Oh,
doing the
yeah.
fucking Megatron voice.
No, I remember reading about that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true.
And the other thing too, yeah, so he also did Soundwave. And Soundwave's voice was really the Dr. Claw voice minus some of the harshness, plus a lot of
Mhm.
heavy effects, you know, to get it to go, as you command, Megatron. You know, again,
Yeah, more
I
like
can't do it with all the,
computer-esque.
the metallic effects.
Yeah,
But when Soundwave made his like very brief appearance, and I think it was Rise of the Fallen, the second one,
I think so.
whatever the
Yeah.
second one was, that I remember AJ told me was great. And when I saw it, I said, AJ, your taste in movies sucks because Rise of the Fallen was a piece of shit. Um, but like they had Soundwave on it. He's like sitting up on like one of the satellites in space and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was definitely using what I called the Dr. Claw voice for that. He only had a couple lines and they didn't do all like the heavy Soundwave voice effects from the cartoon. And it was definitely the Dr. Claw voice. And it's like, well, that's how I knew it was Frank Welker doing the voice still, at least, you know.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
So it's just, but yeah, Frank Welker, you go look up some of the voices that he's done over the years, and you just go, oh my God, I can't believe he did that voice and that voice. Like, do you hear the similarities between Fred from Scooby-Doo and Megatron?
Yeah, I mean, seriously. He's just one of those guys who's very talented to do a lot of different variety.
Yeah, I mean, like I always said, I always thought, oh, maybe I should try to see how you could get into voice acting. But then you look at some of the voice actors, it's always like the same 10 people on everything. It's like Frank Welker
Yes.
and Rob Paulsen and Tom Kenny and you know a few other people, but it's like they're all great. They're absolutely, you know, terrific in what they do and everything. But it's like at some point you also go, "Hey, I'd like to get into voice acting too. Can you like maybe just kind of just scooch aside?"
Yeah, can I get into DC or Marvel and do some animated shows here or something? That'd be
Hey, bro,
great.
I'll do the Dark Knight Batman voice.
I wouldn't mind doing something crazy with one of those shows. That'd be fun. Honestly.
Yeah, I finally finished watching that first season of Batman Caped Crusader on Prime.
Oh, I've yet to watch it. I have it queued up
And
to watch.
yeah, they had some good voice actors on that. And of course, one of the funniest things for me was that Diedrich Bader was doing the voice of Harvey Dent. And that's funny because Diedrich Bader did Batman on, I think it was, what was it called? Batman the Bold and the Brave several years back.
Oh, The Brave and the Bold. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, Brave and the Bold. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, he did Batman on that. Now he's on a different Batman show doing a different character. So
Yeah, yeah. You know, they find their niche and they run with it.
yeah,
Yeah, I gotta.
Batman Cape Crusader was interesting since it was obviously a period piece.
Of course.
It was much more film noir Batman, though it did have some, I don't want to say supernatural, but it had some of like comic book stuff because like they used
Hmm. Gotcha.
They used the Clayface variation. They used the Basil Carlo Clayface in one episode.
Okay.
Um, there was one other one. Yeah, there was this character called Nocturna, who
Hmm.
was she was like almost like a, for lack of a better word, a force vampire. She was like sucking the life essence out of people. So that
Gotcha.
one definitely was supernaturally tinged. And there were some characters that they just didn't go to, which was actually fine because it was mostly Batman's working very much outside the law. So they're trying to arrest him and everything.
Of course.
Um, but while there are supervillain characters, like there's Penguin, a gender altered Penguin. It's a
Yeah.
female
Well,
Penguin, you
people are
know.
still pissed about that, but whatever.
She was in one episode, which kind of surprised me. But they had Penguin, they had Firefly, though I think they called him Firebug. Like I said, they had Clayface. If there was an overarching villain for the whole season, it was pretty much Rupert Thorne, who was trying to buy Harvey Dent because
Mm.
Dent is the DA, but he's also running for mayor. Uh, Bullock and Flass are corrupt cops, which Flass I get because Flass, like I don't know how much they ever use Flass in the comics, but he was in Batman Begins, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I always hate when they make Bullock overtly corrupt. Like I always prefer the Batman the animated series depiction of Bullock, where it's like he goes as far to the line as you can, but he never actually steps over it. He's an asshole, but he's not corrupt.
Yeah. I get you.
In Batman Cape Crusader, he's completely corrupt.
Mm. Gotcha.
It's
Okay.
not even like the Gotham depiction of Bullock where he starts off as being in like the pocket of Jada Pinkett's character, um, only to more or less stop being that way as the show went on. But,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
this version of Bullock's completely corrupt. Um, what other classic film did they use? Oh, Catwoman's in it.
Okay. How many
And
how many
and very
episodes
much
is
and
it?
very much in like the old school Catwoman costume
Oh,
too.
okay.
So that was kind of cool about it too. 'Cause I'm like, oh, I don't know if they've ever done that in an animated show that I've seen. But you won't see Joker, you won't see Riddler. Um,
I'm fine with that.
yeah, I'm well, hey, you leave it open for future seasons.
Hmm.
Um, they did have Killer Croc, but not as Killer Croc so much. She's like, because there's an episode like at the circus, and you see the guy with like the green scaly skin, and they call him by his name, which is now escaping me. Um, they don't do Mr. Freeze.
Fine.
They don't do Scarecrow. They don't do Bane.
That's fine.
They don't do Poison Ivy. So like they have plenty of villains left over, but it's like obviously too, it's like if you're keeping it set in this period, there's only so far you can go with some of those villains. Like it would be kind of hard to do a 1940s version of Mr. Freeze, I think.
Yeah, some of them they don't need to. It seems like what I've read on that show, some of the villains, the classic ones, you don't need to throw all of them in there.
Yeah.
Just pick and choose, just
Yeah.
based off the story and the time frame that you're doing it to tell that specific story. I have yet to watch it. I gotta watch it. It's one of those things where, you know, there's so like we really live in a time where, streaming is just there. There's so many options and,
There's
you
too
know,
many.
there's too
Too
many, and,
many.
and it's one of those things where like each streaming platform has something on my list that I
Mhm.
need to watch. You know what I mean? Like I just finished, so the beginning of the summer, I just finished binge watching Superman and Lois on the CW. So
Mhm.
I watched all three seasons, right? Because the final season 4 is coming up in November. It's only going to be like 10 episodes, but um, I just binge watched that. So I kind of caught up on that. Overall, good show. I'm not a fan of the Lex Luger character in that show. To me, he seems like
What?
Lex Luthor is what I meant to say. I know, I just called him Lex Luger. Lex Luthor. That's because I
I
have
just
a
wanted to make
thing.
sure Lex Luger didn't somehow show up in the show.
Because I have YouTube on my right screen, and there's a thing where he does an interview talking about his Hall of Fame, and I was listening to it. So Lex Luger in my mind. But
Yes, please
so
put Lex Luger in the WWE Hall of Fame already, for crying out loud.
it was talking about like who he would pick for his inductee, but
Yeah,
nonetheless,
and I'm pretty sure he said Sting, and
yeah.
it's like it would have to be Sting in my mind.
So I'm not a big fan of the Lex Luthor uh character in that TV show. He reminds me of a he's bald with this big huge beard. He looks like he belongs in Hell's Angels. He looks like he's like a biker, to be honest with you. So I'm not a
Almost
fan.
sounds like he's doing like the J.K. Simmons version of Commissioner Gordon or something. I don't know. Well, no, he didn't have a beard. I'm thinking of some more recent thing where I've seen J.K. Simmons with having a big beard.
I mean, he's a big dude, and that's fine. He's like a bigger version of Lex Luthor. He's smart to it. They make him like smart and whatnot, like a Luthor is, but just a version of him is just like you get the biker vibes from this guy. So I'm not
Again,
really
yeah, and I will say I don't mind like doing different presentations of
of
characters
course.
you've seen over and over again because even if it's different stuff,
The
if it's like
basic
the same,
premises is there.
yeah, if it's like the same basic premise, it gets a little boring after a while. But then there is changing it too much.
Yeah.
Like, I know one reason why a lot of people didn't take to the animated series The Batman was because like so many of the character designs were so radically different from what people were used to, particularly like the Joker.
And I liked that show.
I like that show too. Like it took me a little like I totally dismissed it at first, and then I like started watching it. I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
The main thing that you have to, in order to appreciate that show, and really any other Batman animated show, is don't compare it to Batman the animated series. You're just gonna inevitably be disappointed because Batman the animated series to me is still the pinnacle. But even
Yeah.
that show had bad episodes too, you know. So it's like,
Oh yeah.
but just don't compare it to that. Let it be it.
Yes.
And that's what I did with the Batman. And it's like, yeah, they turned down certain aspects of the Joker design. Like at first he was barefoot all the time. They got rid of that after a season or two, I think.
Yeah.
But it became a pretty darn good show as it went on. And then when they canceled that, I got pissed.
Yeah, I was upset about that. I was like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Um,
I was like, I was just getting into this and you fucking cancel it on me.
and I
I think one of the other reasons I refused to watch that show for a while is because it prevented them from using Batman characters other than Batman in the last couple seasons of Justice League
hmm,
because they were going on at the same time.
yeah.
And it was like kind of also supposedly the same reason why like Aquaman disappeared from Justice League was because they were supposedly developing a live action Aquaman at the show, which never got off
Yes.
the ground, which also,
Oh, yes, because he was on Smallville
yeah, yeah. And I'm
and
like,
they were in talks. Yes, they were going to make a live action. Yep, yep.
yeah,
And
and
that was
I just
eh,
remember it pissing me off. But then I read a video or an interview with one of like the Justice League producers or whatever, and they were talking about the so-called bat embargo from the Batman, and they were saying like, "Oh, would this scene really be so much better if you saw so and so standing in the background?" And I think they were referring to like the Legion of Doom scenes from the last season. And I just was like reading the interview, and I think I even shouted out, "Yes, it would
it's
be."
that was DC's biggest issue then is like these embargoes. Like you can't have two Batmans on at the same time. You can't have these, dude, they're different entities. Just if you need to use a character for an episode, do it. It's not gonna hurt
Yeah,
either show.
they're airing on different networks at different times. I mean, Justice League was on Cartoon Network. The Batman, I think, was on Kids WB or CW or whatever the fuck it was at that time. And it was
Oh
like it's
yeah,
still like a
whatever.
Saturday morning show, I believe. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're not competing with each other except in your minds.
Yeah. And that's what put a damper on some of their anime shows at that time.
I mean,
100%.
I understand like wanting to prevent viewers from getting confused, and I'm like, well, shit, I would think that the fact that they're on different networks at different times and different animation styles would be enough of a tip off for people to know they're not related.
Yeah, like 100%. 100% agree with you with that.
This is
Yep.
that's what I want. That's what I always like to refer to as corporate stupidity.
Yeah.
And we know that anything DC corporate, pointing the finger more so at Warner Brothers than DC here, has oftentimes been very stupid.
Oh, yeah, they've put their foot up their asses too many times that we can count at this point.
Yeah, and
The-
now I
the-
can't. Now I can't even so much blame Warner Brothers because now it's Warner Brothers Discovery.
yeah, I know. The other aspect of that show that some people criticize, but I don't have an issue with, I don't, is that in the final season, well, and the season finale of season 3, he fights Doomsday. Doomsday becomes about. So
Oh, okay.
so
Very interesting.
here's how Doomsday becomes to be. So earlier in this season, it's not so how do I want to say this? There's a Superman from another Earth. Technically speaking, some say it might be a Bizarro Superman, but it looks like one, but it's kind of like more of a dead zombie Superman from another Earth and whatever case may be. So nonetheless,
Oh boy, now we're combining two of my least favorite things in pop culture, multiverse and zombies.
so here's how they go about doing this. So at the end, towards the end of season 3, Lex Luthor is freed from jail. He knows about this zombie-esque Superman, and he's in a subway eating rats. So they
Lex
have
Luthor
this
or the zombie Superman.
the zombie Superman's in the sewer eating rats. So Lex Luthor and his little team of people um go and find this zombie-esque Superman, right? I was going to use that terminology because it's better. I don't want to use Bizarro because it's
Just call
more
him
or less
zombie Superman, yeah.
zombie Superman. So they have their weapons, futuristic weapons. So what they find is every time they kill him, he gets stronger.
Ah,
So what they do is they chain him up and they're like, "Do you want to kill Superman?" And they're like, they use that motivation. They're like, "We're gonna keep killing you because you can get stronger and then you can kill Superman and blah 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 blah." So you see them throughout the episode with all these weapons just killing him in multiple different ways. So we
because the
keep
whole thing was always with Doomsday was you couldn't kill him the same way twice, right?
correct.
Yeah.
So they're doing this and he gets stronger and he starts to change. And then he starts changing into Doomsday, like the beginning part. So then they release him. He fights Superman. Superman does something where he kills him, and then they're in space, and then he like comes back to life and he like grows, like he gets stronger. So the more, and I think there was another time where he kills him again and he gets more and he looks more like Doomsday. So each time becomes more like Doomsday. So
Mm.
that's how kind of like the finale of season 3 ends, where he's fighting Doomsday, and the trailers are pretty much where he's fighting Doomsday on the moon right now, and at the end of the day, he ultimately dies. So they're playing season 4 is going to be the death of Superman, and we'll see how they finish it because it's, I think, 3 or 4 episodes short of its normal 13, 14 episode season. I think it's 13 actually, so it's 3 episodes short.
Budget cuts.
I think what I think it is the fact that this is the last superhero show that's going to be on the CW, as
Mm.
technically speaking, it was a part of the Arrowverse, but in season 2, they do something where it kind of separates itself from the Arrowverse. But with that being said, I've read that they might kind of bring it back to the Arrowverse in season 4, the final season in some aspect. That's fine. They want to do that, pay homage to how they started, blah, blah, blah. Great. I've actually liked the guy, Tyler, who's played Superman. I like the female who plays Lois Lane. There's other characters in the show that I like as well, enjoy the show. So let's see if they let's see how this plays off. Because they show like the trailer is like Lex Luthor's like he's dead. We need to embrace it and move on. And he's like happy about this. And the family's devastated. And one of his sons does have powers, the other one does not. So the one who has powers tries to dress up in all black with these goggles and kind of like be Superboy. So there's an aspect of that as well. And he confronts Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor kind of like shuns him off like he's nothing. But let's see.
I'm a non-believer.
We'll see how the season goes. It's 10 episodes, so we'll see if they finish the last season properly. That's always the thing when you have final seasons. Like, how are they properly going to send this show off? Just like, I watched the Umbrella Academy. So, the final season 4 of that just released the beginning of August on Netflix. I haven't watched that yet. Are they going to send them off in a proper manner? Who the hell knows? You never know with some of these shows.
Yeah. But I mean, just as a quick aside, you talk about the guy who plays Superman now. Um, I've had occasional clips from Lois and Clark pop up in my YouTube feed. I'm not 100% sure why. I've given up trying to figure out why shit pops up in my feeds anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Um, and it's like I liked that show back in the day, and I always remembered that I was just waiting for them to finally put the two of them together. And then when they did, the ratings died and the show got canned pretty quickly after, which I thought sucked at the time.
Yeah.
But now of course, I don't like Dean Cain for political reasons. He's one of a group of like 90s TV stars who never seemed to be able to do anything after their hit show and became like right wing. Just me, just me.
I
Um,
know.
but I've gone back and seeing some of these clips. He was much better as Clark than he was as Superman.
Yes, he
Too
was.
many of the clips that I've seen of him as Superman, he's way too stiff. He's way too frowny faced. And he's way too like I'm Superman. Like he's becoming. I've never watched The Boys, but he sounds way too close to what I've ascribed to what I've heard Homelander is like. And I'm like, dude, that's not the way you're supposed to fucking play Superman. And I guess I didn't realize it at the time.
I could say certain. I watched The Boys. That's another show I got to catch up on because of the new season. But I uh, I could see aspects of the comparison, but when it comes to Homelander and The Boys, Homelander is like he's two-faced. He's a character where he plays one persona in the public to make himself look wonderful and like a god, and then in the background he's evil psychopath. He's a narcissist and a psychopath. That's pretty much what he is.
I mean, I'll say this: the guy that plays him looks that part.
Oh, he's dude. I don't remember the guys. I don't sit here and try to memorize the actors' real names. I apologize, people. I really don't. But he does play a Homelander to a T. Like very good actor for this role. 100%.
You know who he looks like in a lot of ways?
Who?
He looks like younger Bradley Cooper. Like
Oh,
Wedding Crashers era Bradley Cooper. Like before he
okay.
kind of grew his hair a little longer and everything. Like pre-Hangover
I
Bradley
gotcha.
Cooper.
I
Where
gotcha.
at the time Bradley Cooper only seemed to really play douchebags.
Ah, yes, yes. I gotcha.
So that's what he's always reminded me of as far as just like the physicality, his looks and everything. So
Okay.
as I'm canceling my Alien Romulus reservation for the third consecutive day.
Why is that?
I was gonna go Friday night, but I was getting tired and I was going to a 9:30 showing. And I'm like, dude, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna fall asleep during the movie. So screw it. I'll go see it tomorrow night, last night. Then last night I was getting so wrapped up in playing Lego Star Wars and the weather wasn't great that I was like, yeah, screw it. I'll go see it tomorrow afternoon. And now I'm like, the weather's not great. I need to do food shopping and a couple other things. I'll go see it either next weekend or whatever. Hopefully it'll still be playing in one of the decent theaters next week. But I'm just like, yeah.
It happens. It
Yeah.
definitely does. I get it.
But anyway, what I wanted to say, yeah, you're talking about streaming. Yeah. This is the reason I always mocked cord cutters. Because I knew that what was going to happen is that streaming was just going to become like cable in the sense of just everything was going to go back to like you were still going to have to pay 7 different people to get all the stuff you wanted to see, you know? So streaming has destroyed cable TV in a lot of ways. And
Well,
it's
yeah.
also destroyed itself because yeah, I can't even remember how many streaming services I'm paying for right now, and to be honest, I don't want to really admit it. But
I
I feel like
know.
I use all of them to a certain extent. Do I need all of them? No. Do I want to have all of them? Yes. Do I wish they were a little less expensive? Sure. But it's like I watch a ton of stuff on Peacock and not just WWE.
Mhm.
Um, I have like the Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus bundle now.
So do I.
Hulu I'm not using as much as I think I used to, but I still do use it. And obviously, watch a lot of stuff on Disney Plus.
Hulu's probably the one I watch the least.
Yeah.
I used to
Just
watch a lot of content on there, and now it's the least amount.
it
But
seems like a lot of the stuff that I watch on Hulu I can find somewhere else now too. That's why.
yeah, Hulu's an interesting one because they have their exclusive content, but they also have their like licensing deals with a lot of other items,
Hmm.
networks and whatnot, where it's great, but some of those partnerships they have with those networks, I just don't watch anything on those networks anymore.
Yeah.
So there's like some anime stuff on there, WWE stuff on there. That's, the shows like Raw and SmackDown and stuff like that. But um
Yeah.
like I watched it more for some of the anime mostly and certain shows I used to watch on the FX and all that, but that's no longer. So I don't watch a lot of content. It's very minimal now on Hulu. It's probably the one I watch the least. I think the one I watch the most now is probably Max, to be honest. And
Yeah.
then Peacock is next, and then Paramount Plus. Um, I mean, I watch the ESPN Plus, sports stuff. There's certain things I watch on there. Um, I think Apple TV is the only, oh God, am I really going to say this? Apple TV might be the only streaming I don't have a subscription to.
I do have Apple, and I think my dad uses that more than I do.
Because, like, I have my Paramount because there's stuff on there. I have my Peacock. I have Hulu. I technically have two Hulu accounts because one of them I have for free because of Spotify. Um, and then I had the Disney. I saw yeah, I had Paramount Plus, Peacock, Hulu, Max, Disney Plus. I have my the ESPN and the other subscription I have, and that it's just a me thing, is it's me and my son thing, is I have Crunchyroll for the anime.
Mhm.
So, because they do, that's there's so much anime content on there, old and new, in Japan, in Japanese, in subtitles, in American English. So I'm a huge anime person. So otherwise, some of the other like Max has anime on it, Hulu has anime on it, some of the other ones do too, but the extent that, this isn't Crunchyroll's just pretty much got everything for the most part. So, I can find mostly all the anime I want on there. Some of
Yeah.
the stuff that's on there is like, Gundam and some other things around the other ones too. But yeah, I mean, those pretty much are the gist of most of the streaming services. And then what we got, Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max have their own new bundle. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
but here's the aspect of that. When you bundle with that with Max, do you still get ESPN Plus?
Yeah. That's why right now I have Max through my YouTube TV, and I have the Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus bundle, so I'm just going to keep it that way.
I mean, I'm gonna look at the pricing that I have for both, and then I'm gonna see which one's cheaper, and I might go that route. But at the same aspect, I just want to make sure I don't lose ESPN Plus if I bundle my Max in with that. That's my biggest thing.
See, the problem that I think I have right now, I think I'm still getting billed for ESPN Plus separately, even though I'm supposed to have the bundle. I got to take care of that.
Yeah, definitely do so.
I keep forgetting, which of course I think is what they count on you doing.
Oh yeah. And that's the other thing, you know?
But yeah, so I said I wasn't going to say all the ones that I have, but now I think I might as well. So yeah, I have Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, Hulu. I have Max, but like I said, I have that through YouTube TV, so I can watch it on TV as well. So it's not just, you get the streaming is part of it. I have Amazon Prime, but of course that's more than just
Oh, yep, I have
yeah.
Amazon Prime as well.
That's
Sorry.
that's more than just the streaming stuff though too. So
Yeah, that's like that's everything. That's streaming, music, books,
the
the
shipping,
shipping,
yeah,
the deals like Amazon Prime. That's
yeah,
that's a whole plethora
yeah,
of some other all
yep.
crazy shit with Amazon. But yeah, I forgot
I
about that
yeah,
one.
I have Peacock Plus, I have Paramount Plus,
Yep.
I have Apple TV, and I have Netflix still.
Oh yeah,
Netflix,
Netflix. Oh yeah.
Netflix is the one that I think I've been using the least lately, but it's like
Oh, I
I've
forgot about
had
Netflix.
I've had I've had Netflix for so long since
Yeah.
2003 when it was just DVD by mail
Yep.
that it's like
Same here.
I have a feeling that I'll never get rid of Netflix even if I'm not
Oh,
watching anything on it. But yeah, you mentioned there's so many choices, so it's like
I don't have Netflix on my phone. That's why I forgot about that one.
okay. So like I said, I watched Batman Cape Crusader. I finally finished watching season 2 of Loki, right before Deadpool and Wolverine came out. Um, but I haven't like let's see like stuff that I want to watch. Or like I watched like the most recent season of Criminal Minds Evolution that was on Paramount Plus. I watched The Acolyte on Disney Plus, of course, because I would watch anything Star Wars and I'm not going to be it's not terrible. Um, I haven't watched the most recent season of Doctor Who yet, which is on Disney Plus, and my sister and my dad have both been asking me about it. And while I know some stuff that's happened, I still haven't actually sat down and watched it because when I watched the last special they did at the end of last year where they introduced the new Doctor, I was kind of going a little like,
Yeah.
so I just haven't done it. But it's like now I'm saying, oh, okay, let me get ready to sit down and watch this. Oh, here comes the new season of Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power in a few weeks. Oh, the Penguin will be on Max
Max.
in a month or so.
House of
Um,
Dragons. Every single
yeah, House of
streaming
the Dragons just
service.
ended.
House
The new Disney Skeleton Crew show will be not till December, but it's like it's on the
it's
horizon.
a
So
couple months away.
there's always something like on Apple. I watched the first episode of that Harrison Ford, Jason Segel comedy series and haven't gone back to it. And I'm like, yeah, I need to watch that at some point. You
If
know?
they and there's at least I can say there's at least four types of at least four shows on each streaming service, with maybe the exception of Hulu right now, that I watch or have
Mhm.
interest in. Like
Yeah.
there's at least like for Paramount Plus, the Picard show. I still haven't finished
Hmm.
that. I watched the Halo show. I watched the God, I'm having a brain fart. The Sylvester Stallone reality show on there because I like Stallone. He makes me laugh. And his daughters are hot. Can't help it. And
Yeah, for those good looking girls.
what's the other one? The Jeremy
The
Reiner
Jeremy
show.
Renner one. Yeah,
Yeah, the
I know what
mayor,
you're talking about. I can't remember this mayor or something.
the mayor or whatever. That
Yeah.
I've almost done with season one. That's a good show. Yeah, there's Disney Plus has a shit ton of stuff. Max
Mhm.
has so much stuff on there. There's stuff I haven't finished watching on Max yet. Like the live action Teen Titans. I still have to finish the final season of that. Um, yeah, each one. Netflix has stuff on there. Netflix has the animated. It's in my queue and I keep forgetting to finish watching it. It's a spin-off of Castlevania anime. It's
Ah, okay.
a new Castlevania one. There's a couple things on there. They got to catch up on and watch. So I just watched speaking of Netflix, as I forgot, we just watched Ghostbusters Frozen Empire last night. Um,
And what did you think?
it was okay.
Yeah,
It it
it was just okay.
it was okay. I felt like you had two plots mixed together in in that movie,
Hmm.
and I think they did not do a good job telling both at the same time.
Yes, I will agree. It's like I really wanted to like it, and I was just like, "Hmm."
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling at some point that the ghost that came up to her when they were playing chess that on that evening when she went to go be by herself. I had a feeling when that ghost showed up that she was going to play a more prominent role throughout the movie.
Yeah,
So,
I knew she had an ulterior motive. It just wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, and it ended up being a little disappointing that it wasn't going to be what I thought it was going to be. So,
but yeah, it was a fun movie overall. Um, I felt like there was some I felt it was a little bit too serious to a certain extent because I felt like we had the previous one was the serious one since once his name died and they paid tribute to him at the end of the movie. Like
yeah.
I felt like this one could have been more back to the basics for the previous Ghostbusters. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
There was good parts to it. I had fun with it, but I felt like some characters got a little lost and doing the two plots at the same time were a little bit not told properly. Fun movie. I was torn between Ghostbusters and the new Axel Foley movie, Beverly Hills Cop. I was like,
I
which one
saw.
do I
Yeah,
want to?
I have to remember to watch that too. Yeah.
And that's the other one. I was like, which one do I watch? I was like, let's watch Ghostbusters. We'll watch the other one another night. And um, yeah. So like that's the other thing, with Netflix has, several shows on there. And it is, and here's the crazy part, speaking about this, DirecTV and local cable networks. So I'll give you an example. Living down here, we have Spectrum is the big local provider. Like you guys up there, it's like between RCN and Service Electric. I think RCN is really the bigger of the two. Um,
Anymore, I would say yes. But
so like
remember,
that.
it's not RCN. It's Astound.
Oh yeah, they've done that. So,
So it's
we
still
have
RCN.
like we have Spectrum, and I think the second biggest is like probably like AT&T, to be honest. And then Google Fibers around here for internet, but not like everywhere like it should be, like you would think for being a tech area. But nonetheless, let me get back to my topic. So, talking about cord cutting, it's funny that, my parents have Spectrum and they have the internet, modem router, all that good jazz, and they have the cheapest TV bundle for shows, for channels, right? And they have um a TV box in the living room that has the DVR option on there because my dad likes to record shows. And then the one in the bedroom is just a plain Jane TV, so my mom can watch TV in the bedroom. Their bill I looked at the other day because my dad said he got an email saying that their bill was going up again. They're paying $248 a month for internet and TV. And the TV package with the receiver my dad has in the living room with the DVR and then the standard box in the living room pretty much is 65% of the Spectrum bill. And the internet costs, I think the internet's really only running on like 70-80 dollars just for the internet for the bill layout, and the rest is all for the cable TV and the stuff they have. And the weird fees and taxes that these places charge anymore and the verbiage they have for them is just hysterically funny. Like the terminology they come up to charge you a fee for shit is fucking hysterical.
Hmm.
So it's just like, yeah, the cord cutting, streaming has hurt people in general because these places are now going to raise their prices and they're in more battles to keep certain channels in their TV packages when they negotiate rights and things of that nature for like just say Disney, to keep Disney channels, all their Disney product channels on Spectrum or whatever and things of that nature. And even DirecTV, my mother-in-law's She has two boxes. She got rid of the DVR stuff. There's two standard boxes, and they have I think there's four different TV packages, and I think they have like the second out of the four, which is only like $15 more than like the lowest one. And her monthly bill just for DirecTV was like $185 a month.
Yeah, it's
So,
so ridiculous.
she just got rid of, um DirecTV, and she's has her internet, and then she bought two Amazon Fire Sticks. She put one upstairs in my niece's room, and she has one downstairs on her TV. And my brother-in-law, logged into some of his streaming services that he has so they can both watch. But then my mother-in-law got Sling TV. It has the local news that she watches, and the four channels that she watches on a regular basis are on the cheapest package for Sling TV. So she's paying half the price of what she was previously. So there's options out there. It's just the whole TV world and streaming and cable TV. It's insane. Like for me, I live in my apartment complex I live in, they have a business deal with Spectrum. So we have a thing in our rent that's called the entertainment package. It's $75 a month for it in our rent, but it consists of internet and TV. So we get one cable box free, and we can download the apps to anything, the Spectrum TV app, and just log in. So I have one cable box in the TV in the living room, and then if we want to watch it in any other rooms, we just put it on the Amazon or the Roku and just download the app or the Xbox or PS4 or whatever and PS5 and just watch it on my phone or a tablet or like that. So it makes it convenient per se, but it's harder for people of a certain age to be tech savvy to do that. And I think they know that. So the older generation, the elderly, are going to suck it up and pay the price because they don't know how to use some of the new shit. Because I don't want my parents paying $248 a month for TV and internet. I think that's horrendous. It's just my dad is not tech savvy enough anymore to remember how to use this stuff. So I'm like, I can make it cheaper for him, but he's got to remember all that stuff, and he forgets. He'll be calling me every single day of the week and all that jazz. And, you know, it's a bit confusing for them. But yeah, it's things change, man. I mean, I remember back in the day we had, cable box, and you only had like so many channels. And my dad was fortunate to work at a place where he got the good old cheater boxes, so we didn't have to pay for those HBO and
Yeah,
Cinemax and Showtime. And
you didn't have to
uh,
watch through the scrambled lines.
we got all the pay-per-views for boxing and professional wrestling. And also the main thing that was the greatest thing as I was growing up, 1 o'clock and 11:30 at night. Boom chicka wow wow. Yeah, boom chicka wow wow. Oh yeah, 2.5 hours of that kind of stuff. Triple X, baby. It's so silly. But back then it was kind of like, oh my God, we're gonna
Ah,
see
what a
some
fun time to be alive.
we're gonna see some naked women. Yeah, man, those were the days.
Yes, they were.
Some of that stuff. Yeah, it just we're overloaded with so much content anymore these days. It's kind of like shit, you know.
Yeah,
Don't know.
in a lot of ways it's too much, So it's like there's always something. It's like I found it like there's always like a movie that I want to see that's on some channel, and like it may not be there for forever, so if you see it on there, make sure you watch it, that kind of thing. And it's hard to keep up after a while, So I'm sure there's been movies that I would like to have seen that have come and gone from streaming channels that I just didn't see that they were on there at the time or whatever, and just like screw it.
And the thing is the thing about it is too is like even with the normal TV, with all the channels that are offered, even on the lowest like basic TV lineup, I could, dude, like I don't even think I watch a fourth of it. Like I watch ESPN channels. I watch the Big Ten network, the NHL, NBA network, the sports ones. And then outside of like the sports ones, I watch the local news for a little bit for like weather and traffic. And there's only like maybe four or five other channels that I watch, you know, for the channels that are the wrestling shows that are on, of course. But even outside that, there's only a couple other like shows that I watch on TV. Like there's really outside of sports, and I'll include wrestling into that. I don't really watch a lot of other content on TV anymore. Like on all the channels, like there's a couple shows here and there, maybe four or five, but other than that, I everything I watch is streaming based.
Yeah, the only things that I would say I still watch that are on like network, I still watch the Law and Order shows. But and the irony there is that one of them they shipped off to Peacock. Um,
I did see that.
yeah. I watch Family Guy, which has been shipped off to mid-season,
Hmm.
if it'll be back then. I watch all the Gordon Ramsay show. Well, not all the Gordon Ramsay shows. I watch all the Gordon Ramsay shows except MasterChef and
Okay.
MasterChef Kids. I don't watch the MasterChef shows. I watch Hell's Kitchen. I watch Kitchen Nightmares if they're going to continue to do that. I watch Next Level Chef, and I watched the Food Stars one again. This he added in Lisa Vanderpump this year, which was kind of fun.
Oh,
Uh,
I caught a couple episodes of that because I watch her other reality
yeah,
show.
she seems like a very
Uh,
I had never really seen her before, I think, except when she was on an episode of Hell's Kitchen where she was like in the at the chef's table in the kitchen one time. She comes across as someone who's very smart, very driven, and she's been very successful. So it's
yeah.
like I don't have any problems with her as like a person or anything like that. So it's like um I know Cornette and Last on their show sometimes bring her up because I think one of her shows used to be a lead into AEW, or like it would get moved around because of AEW, something like that. So like they would always keep talking about what are the Vanderpumps doing, you know?
Yeah, yeah. She was originally on one of the Housewives show, and then she did
Hmm.
her Vanderpump Rules show where it was like the people from her restaurant and their crazy lives. That's one of the shows I got sucked into, reality shows. But then
Yeah.
she has a new one on one of the streaming services where she has a um it's the fancy bed and breakfast slash hotel place in like Europe, whatever they call them in Europe. I forget what it is, but she's hired like some of the top people in their specific job titles from around the world and in Europe to work at this place, chateau. I think that's the word I'm looking for. At this chateau. And, you know, it's reality TV, there's drama and stuff like that, but she is very driven. Like she is a no holds bar type of chick. I will say that.
Hmm.
She'll give people second chances, but once you if she gives you that second chance, you better take advantage of that second chance because if you don't, um, you can say bye-bye.
Yeah.
That'll be the last of you
Uh,
ever working with her.
why is Hillbilly Elegy still in my Netflix queue?
Well, the other thing I'm kind of curious to see is this weekend in New York was the Fanatics Fest for WWE. And one of the items was I know there's a Paul Heyman. There's some interviews with like Paul Heyman and Punk and all that. But I'm curious, and I'm gonna bring this up. Besides the storyline of Punk and Drew McIntyre, we all know Mr. CM Punk is not a fan of the Hulkster. Um,
I knew that's where
and
you're going, and I'm fine with that. Whoop.
and I'm curious to see if we get any type of media coverage or media in regards to any interactions between Mr. CM Punk and the Hulkster um, at the Fanatics Fan Fest, because I don't know how they have it set up as far as like who's going to be here from this time to this time, and then this, because at some point they're all going to be interacting with each other at some point. You know how like they like to use these fan fests to still throw stories around. So it wouldn't surprise me if Punk and McIntyre get into a big fucking argument at the fan fest. But it'd be interesting to see if like there's any interaction between those two. I'm just, it, curiosity, especially how Hogan's life has gone the last 20 years. And we know CM Punk doesn't give a shit and will speak his mind on anything.
Yes, I know exactly where you're coming from, and I know Punk has expressed his dislike of Hogan in the past, and at this
Yes.
point, I am very much in the yeah, I got you, camp. I kept, and there is still that part of me that wants to keep defending him,
I can
but it's like
I
I
will
fully
def
have to acknowledge, like he did in his fucking trial, Hulk Hogan, the character, and Terry Bollea, the man, are two completely different people. And of course, when you come right down to it, at times Hulk Hogan, the character, wasn't the greatest guy either. But the problem is that Terry Bollea, the man, keeps insisting on being Hulk Hogan.
yeah, yeah. I think with him anymore from me, I will defend him depending on what the topic is.
Yeah,
And if it's justified to defend him. On
yeah,
a lot of other stuff I won't, you
yeah.
know.
The problem is at this point, if you're going like anything from his personal life, there's nothing really much you can defend him on. He said those things that he said on that tape.
Yeah.
And I think he was probably right to sue, but the fact that he was used as a tool by a fucking billionaire asshole
Hmm.
in order to wage that guy's war on the site that published the tape
Yep.
is troubling. Um, the guy that he employs to run his fucking beach shop there in Tampa, who we've heard stories about over the years, is one of the ultimate RWNJs.
Yeah.
Um, this sudden conversion to Christianity that he's done, like so many old broken down wrestlers, and the fact that he, of course, is being embraced by it. So he's a useful tool of the Christian right. Everything that he did at the RNC, just, you know,
Like I
but
said, he couldn't get Vince McMahon because Vince McMahon's not a good person to have out in public. So he's got to get this next best option and get the hoaxer out there.
yeah, so
I laughed when I saw it. I'm like, listen, it is what it is. I can't say shit.
huh, this is
Whatever.
this is kind of funny.
But
I just typed in CM Punk Hulk Hogan into Google. And
that's
I found a Reddit post here. It says CM Punk embodies Hulk Hogan's narcissism, but not his star power. I don't even want to read any more of that because I really don't care what that person says.
yeah, I don't think it's narcissism in regards to like I don't listen, Punk is just he is a person that he is a product of how he was raised and how his family was, and he's always looked out, he's always had to look out for himself. So when you're always looking out for yourself and no one's there to help you, you know, he didn't have that support growing up or people backstabbed him so much, then you can expect someone to be of that nature when they get older. And
Yeah.
listen, love him or hate him, he always speaks his mind, you know. From what I know and read, he very rarely lies about anything. He speaks the truth and about whatever he's talking about. So it's a matter of you're going to love him or hate him. And I'm going to use an analogy. Our friend is kind of the same way.
Hmm.
You know, you either love him or you hate him in regards to how he is with how in the same similar manner. It's funny. I don't want to say that he's similar to Punk, but he is in certain aspects. But at the same time, It's kind of the same thing. Everyone always has a friend in their friend group that is someone that you're when he meets people, people are gonna hate him or they're gonna like him, you know, the love and hate relationship in regards to that. So, not try to be mean in any aspect. I'm just it's the reality of it in regards to it. So
Yeah, so if those two guys, Punk and Hogan, are anywhere near each other at this thing that's going on in New York right now, um, all the reports are that Punk's been on his best behavior. He's been good to work with, blah, 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 blah. I doubt Punk is going to go out of his way
no,
to induce an encounter. I guess you could say,
no,
I don't think he'd go walking up to Hulk Hogan's tailor room and say, "Hey, Hulk, fuck you," which he has
no, no,
basically said in interviews and shit. I think it would be funny if he did, but it's going to get him in trouble with WWE, and he doesn't want that, and I don't want that. So, um, but so this is an article I found on essentiallysports.com. It's dated today, very early this morning. It says CM Punk recently did an interview with Fanatics Fest in which he claimed that his behavior toward a person is determined by the behavior he receives from that person. The former champion even said he has two personas and that when AEW backstage did not treat him well, he pulled out his other persona and did not treat them properly too, which is not the case with WWE. That's sounding a little schizophrenic, but okay. Punk even addressed the folks that circulated lies involving him. He revealed that these are the same folks who cannot accept his brilliance. Well, that's a little egotistical. Furthermore, he cited that these are the same folks who proved to be a stumbling block to his own growth. He stated in the interview, "If you are a piece of shit and you act that way to me, I will treat you that way. If you're nice, you're smiling, you want to have a good time, let's have a good time. I'm all hugs." And it's not like I'm two different people. There's just certain people, the ones that spread those lies, the ones that say those things about me. It's because they can't control me. They can't control the things I do and I say, and they absolutely hate that. I mean, I think we obviously know who he's referring to.
yeah, yeah.
Um, just want to scroll down here, see if there's anything else. Doesn't really seem to be. Um, yeah. But no, I kind of agree. If he feels like he was treated badly, unfairly, what have you, by other people first, and then his reaction was to say, "Ah, fuck you," I get it. At some point, it's going to be like, if you're going to be an asshole to me, why should I be nice to you?
Yeah.
Even in
And
a
if
fucked up industry like wrestling.
if you're gonna be an asshole to me and I'm still being nice to you and you're still being an asshole to me, then I will flip that switch and I'm gonna be like, fuck you at this point. Like done. And and here's the thing that still kind of bothers me with people is that this is professional wrestling. And people still hold a grudge against him from when he left. He left because of health reasons. And, you know, there's others who have been like, yeah, the medical team and how the health of wrestlers were perceived and taken care of wasn't the greatest. It was probably better for others than it was for other people in the rock room. There was probably like a distinction, like if you're a top star, even though when Punk was towards the top, he might not have gotten the same treatment as I don't know, fucking Cena or Stone Cold or Shawn Michaels or whatever the case may be. I'm just throwing out examples, names, right? So, because at that time, you still were led by the McMahon regime, and McMahon still had his ideas of who champions really should be and who should be main eventers, so on and so on and so on. And you still have the mentality of, you wrestle hurt, which they probably still do, but they take more seriously these days. And the funny part is, if you really go back and look at the history, when Punk sued him for all that stuff, it is funny how, like, after he left, they started changing their ways about the medical aspect of wrestlers and the health of the wrestlers. That started to change because they were like, yeah, we can't have this guy keep bashing us like he is for how we treat the wrestlers. We do need to make some changes. So it was something that was done in that time frame as well. But at the same point, it's kind of like what I think, just like I don't know the full truth of how much Seth Rollins does not like CM Punk from the time he was there. But at the same aspect, you were a young wrestler on your way up coming from OVW, and Punk was fighting his battle. So you might have been a casualty to a certain extent, but at the same point, I don't think those guys understood the business at that time, being how young they were and new to WWE way. Like ROH is a totally different beast back then. Yeah, there was politicking, but like not as much as like WWE was. Like it was still at that time, you were fighting for your spot, so on and so on. So these days is a little bit different, of course, and I enjoy these days and glad, you know, they're running the company properly, if you want to put it in those terms. But I
Yeah.
think people still don't realize like professional wrestling is unique in its own way, and how you get to the top, staying in the top, and how you got to fight your way there. And yeah, sometimes you got to step on people and over people to get there. It's always been the nature of the beast, no matter what promotion you're at, United States, Japan, Europe, it's kind of the same. Run a little differently, but still the same basic concept of professional wrestling and how you start from the bottom and work your way to the top.
Yeah, it's
Excuse me.
here it is. I can still find it. Like it was less than a week ago. Hold on. There's a whole long video on some page about wrestlers who can't stand Hulk Hogan. And it was a bunch of different people, and they all had reasons, one reason or another. Let me
Okay.
see. This is almost a 12-minute long video, so I'm just going to see who they talked about in it. Bob Backlund, which I never really knew about. Um, Bret Hart, which obviously we know what the issues there are. Uh,
Yeah, I get tired of hearing the
Bruno
Bret Hart one.
Sammartino, which I guess I didn't really know about either. I don't think I'd really know that he had issues with Hogan.
Same.
Iron Sheik, which I knew about the stuff that Sheik always said, but I always kind of thought that that was tongue in cheek, a lot of it. So I don't
Well,
know
the
how
Iron
serious
Sheik
that
one,
is.
I think Sheik
Yeah,
was just pissed off because he thought he was going to get the belt back from Hogan, and Vince didn't
yeah,
want that.
yeah. But like this video even pointed out, there was one year where they literally dressed up as each other for Halloween. You know,
Yeah.
they mentioned Scott Steiner, which I've never fully understood what Steiner's issues with Hogan was.
Either do I. I don't.
Yeah, I never gotten that, and he's always tried to say I didn't really threaten his wife at the airport. I'm like, you said something to her, so
Yeah, I don't 100%. Um, I don't 100% believe that.
yeah. They mentioned Undertaker, which of course stems from their Survivor Series 91 match where Hogan insisted Undertaker fucked up his neck on the pile driver on the chair, and
Oh,
Taker
which
has
he
said that.
didn't.
And it's like, now look, here's the thing that I've always felt about that. He very clearly did not hit Hogan's head directly against the chair.
No.
But Hogan's head still was right between his legs. When your head is hanging there and bouncing off the inside of somebody's legs, and a guy who's got thick legs like The Undertaker, conceivably it could do something to fuck up his neck. Did Hogan probably over exaggerate it? Oh, I'm sure he did.
He did because he probably felt that move was unsafe at the time for a
Yeah.
guy who was still new to the business doing a move like that.
Yeah.
And being a vet, he probably did that. So if he wrestled Taker again, he would not have to take that move, and Taker would have to pin him in a different manner.
Yeah. Now, so again, I definitely see Taker's point, and at the same time, I can give a little benefit of the doubt to Hogan on that one. The next one was good old HB Kizzle, and we know what the issues there were. Um,
So sad.
I mean, I get Michael's point, but he behaved like a child again.
Yep.
At the very least, Michael's in the years since has come out and said that he was unprofessional.
Yeah.
So he's at least owned up to that. It's like, dude, I get why you were pissed. totally get why you were pissed.
It could have been a good trilogy, but at the same time, I don't think Hogan was able to do it.
That's the thing. Was Hogan physically able in 2005 at age, what the fuck was he then? Like 51, I think.
Because I think he had some
He had hip issues, he had back issues, you know.
The hip and the back was bothering him more, and it was more of a struggle. So him doing a trilogy, one of those matches, if Hogan would have signed off doing that trilogy, I can guarantee you Hogan would have gotten hurt in one of those matches.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But even so, it's like Hogan was still a dick about it. Then they mentioned Sid, which I never really knew that Sid had issues with Hogan, but okay. Who else did they mention here? Oh, Jesse Ventura.
That's obvious.
This is hysterical now. Cage Side Seats had an article about this a week or two ago where Jesse was giving an interview, and I said, I never thought there would be a time where I would favor Jesse Ventura over Hulk Hogan. But since Ventura's been critical of Trump lately, and you know, we know everything about Hogan, so it's like, yeah. But yeah, Hogan screwed over everybody for the sake of himself in that. And with that sort, with the whole ratting to Vince that Jesse was trying to get people to unionize and everything. So I just posted this comment, which nobody replied to, but I got at least one like. I said, I think Hogan was a very paranoid person because Vince strapped the rocket to him and made him the focal point of a huge money-making machine. From that point on, Hogan did everything he could to protect the persona, the image of Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
In doing so, he alienated a lot of people who, let's be honest, would probably do the same thing in the same situation.
100% they would have.
Especially in the 1980s wrestling business, for Christ's sake, as the territories were collapsing around everybody because of what Vince was doing. So they realized that this was the place to be, you know. But that being said, my days as a Hulkamaniac are over. I just can't abide the things this man has said and done over the last several years.
Yeah, and I mean, truth. Like, seriously, if it was Macho Man or if it was somebody else and it took off the way it did, doesn't matter if it was better than what Hogan did or lesser than what Hogan did. Just the fact of the matter is, if it got WWE to the highest extent, no matter who was put in that position, would have done the same exact fucking thing. Because at that time, the way the pay was set up, the way their bonuses were set up, the way the industry was going, you made money if you were in this top percentage. Everyone else made X amount of money and had to get extra money by being on pay-per-view, so on, so on, and so on. You know, nonetheless. But yeah, I mean, you're going to alienate people when you are at the top and you're trying to stay at the top. Because at the end of the day, you know, the business is different now than it was then, but it took if you think about it, Pat, it took several decades for the industry to really change in regards to that. You know what I mean? I feel like it was still the old school way as far back as 2010, 2012, 13 per se. I still feel that it was kind of the old school way to, if you're going to be on top, this is how you go about doing it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it doesn't matter who was in that position. He would have alienated somebody, you know. And here's the other aspect of it too. When you're somebody in the wrestling industry who has changed wrestling as many times as he has, you're going to have that mentality. You know, you're the guy that Vince believed in to take professional wrestling to the next level. You know, really the original WrestleMania was the start of it being sports entertainment, to be honest, when you brought in all the celebrities to promote the show and all that jazz. And then when you leave the company and you go to the competitor, if you even want to call it that, and then you change the course of wrestling history again by turning heel, forming one of the best factions in wrestling history, and then forcing the other company that you used to work for to change its ways, and then you get the Attitude Era. You know, if you put Sting in that position, I don't think you're getting the true Attitude Era that WWE was able to accomplish at that point. I don't even know how successful the NWO would have been if Sting was the person instead of Hogan.
Oh, it definitely wouldn't have been. No disrespect to Sting on that one, but
No, and right, yeah, definitely no disrespect to Sting on that one. It's just you have two guys that were from the company up north, and you're gonna put like I think if Sting was the person, if they had gone with Sting and Hogan said no, I think they would have gotten a good year out of that story because you would have had the two former guys from up north corrupted the the biggest face in WCW history to turn evil, and it would have ran its course after a year. Because I think with Sting, you would have had fans like cheering for him or wanting him to go back to being a face. So they would have had to gone into a different direction with that whole faction after a year's worth of storytelling. Um, and you wouldn't have gotten WWE to change their ways in the manner that they were able to with Hogan. Because it really made sense. The two guys from up north bring the uber baby face from up north to create the heel faction down south and run amok upon or around, WCW, so on and so on. Not too many wrestlers could say they've changed the industry twice in the way they did. So, kudos to him for being chosen to do it and make the choice the second time. But, all the other aspects of it, some of that stuff definitely got in his way from his decision making and the choices and the alienations that he did. And some of it, some of these wrestlers have a valid point to be pissed at him, but at the end of the day, you can't change it now.
yeah. I mean, Cornette on his podcast at some point, I don't remember when now, and I can't find the exact clip because it's a little too hard to search for like Jim Cornette, Hulk Hogan on YouTube. You get so many things with the times I mentioned Hogan over the years.
Oh, I know.
They did a thing about who could have replaced Hulk Hogan in like, or who could have been the guy instead of Hulk Hogan in 1984. And I think they really came to the conclusion nobody could have. I'm trying to remember all the names that they threw out as possibilities. I think they mentioned Dusty, of course. And I hate saying this, but it never would have been Dusty because of his body, because of what Vince wanted, you know?
The American dream, but he wasn't an American hero.
Right. Like, he was too much the common man, and Hulk was too much the superhero, you know? So, and again, that's no disrespect to Dusty, because obviously what Dusty did
No, he was
worked
great.
for so long. I think they talked about Kerry Von Erich. Kerry Von Erich had the look, he had the talent, he had the physical charisma. He did not have the verbal charisma. I mean, Kerry Von Erich was not a great promo. He just wasn't. And the biggest issue, of course, with Kerry was the drug problems and the reliability. I mean, he would no show for his dad. So, you know, Vince would have never been able to rely on him. I mean, shit, that's why
Nope.
he only held the NWA title for 3 weeks when he won it from Flair there in '84, is because the NWA knew that he wasn't going to be reliable as a champion.
Nope.
I think they mentioned, I don't remember if it was Tommy Rich or Austin Idol. And to me, those guys were kind of always maybe like a little bit limited to being territory guys, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, Austin Idol, I mean, it was obviously had a lot of similarities to Hogan, most of all, and of course that they both were kind of superstar Billy Graham ripoffs.
Yes.
Somebody mentioned Savage, and Savage wasn't quite there yet in '84.
He hasn't. He did not do as much as Hogan did at that point.
Yeah, and the Macho Man persona was not going to get over as a superhero babyface at first. He had to be a heel first, you know.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned Ricky Steamboat. Ricky Steamboat's obviously fantastic. Ricky Steamboat was another pedestrian promo, though.
Yep.
I'm not even considering Flair, of course, because we know that wouldn't have worked.
No.
Uh, there wasn't really anybody else who I think was around the time in 1984 who could have fit the bill. Now, if we are fast forwarding a few years, there are two guys who probably could have been considered. One, of course, being the Ultimate Warrior. His issue, of course, once again, would have been reliability.
Yep.
And just burnout. Like, I don't know if he could have lasted as long as Hogan did.
No.
Now, the guy who I think, if you took his persona from around that same time and were able to rewind it and transport it back to 1984, that could have worked, would have been Sting. I think if
Oh,
you had 1988, 89, 90 Sting in 1984,
yep.
that could have worked.
Yes.
Has the body, has the charisma. Not a terrific promo, but he would say what he needed to get the point across, and he was universally loved.
Yes, he would have been. His promos would have been good enough to get the point across to get the fans to love him.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. And somebody else I think also said Paul Orndorff. And again, with Orndorff, his problem was he looked like a heel.
Yes, he did not look like a face at all.
I know they got a good babyface run out of him after Piper and Orton turned on him following WrestleMania 1, which then had his great heel turn in '86, where he and Hogan did huge matches like the cage match in Toronto and all that other stuff. But Orndorff to me was always a guy who I think was better as a heel. I mean, a face does not call himself Mr. Wonderful.
Nope.
You know?
Not at all.
And again, I'm definitely not trying to, denigrate Orndorff because Orndorff was great. He was. But Orndorff's problem then too was like, he got the arm injury and that would have affected things. Assuming that happens the same way.
Oh, of course, of course.
I just realized I got my microphone all the way over here. I haven't turned it closer to me today.
It doesn't matter. Your voice projects well, so it's okay.
Yes, I know. My mother's told me that many times over the years. Not in a good way.
If I wasn't able to hear you, I definitely would have let you know.
I'm sure you would have, yeah. So that, yeah, and again, like you said, then like the NWO, it could not have been anybody but Hogan. Anybody else who was ever mentioned as being the third man, whether it was Sting or whether it was Davey Boy Smith or anybody, it just would not have had the impact that it being Hogan would have. If they had decided to go with Sting as being the third man, first of all, it wouldn't have made as much sense as the two guys he was tagging with that night to have been the third man. Because Savage he wasn't a WWE lifer, but that's where everybody knew him from.
Yep.
And Luger had only just come back from WWF several months prior. So it really would have made more sense for either of them to have been the third man than Sting. But they were good. If it was going to be Sting, of course, it was going for the shock value aspect of it.
Oh, of course, yes.
Sting being the third man would have gotten some more eyeballs on it. It would not have been the seismic shift of Hogan because, like it or not, nobody remembered heel Hulk Hogan from 1980 through 1982 in WWF and AWA.
No.
Nobody remembered that Hulk Hogan. So you were literally introducing a completely new Hulk Hogan to an audience that had only ever seen him as being the ultra superhero.
The real American.
Yeah. Or what is it that, how did Beavis and Butthead put it? Butthead said, yeah, he's a real American. He did whatever it took to get ahead, like taking those steroid pills.
Which, again, steroids, that was a thing in the 70s and 80s in a lot of sports.
Oh, yeah, it definitely was. So it was, they always wanted to single out wrestling when everybody knew that it was being done in other sports too, whether it was football, baseball, and I'm sure
Olympics, bodybuilding.
Oh yeah, the Olympics definitely.
Powerlifting.
Yeah.
I can keep going.
I mean the 80s were the decade of two drugs, steroids and cocaine.
Steroids and the powder. The juice and the powder. Powder and juice go hand in hand.
And somebody probably said, can we combine these?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if people tried or did. Well, I don't know how successful they were with it, but
Probably made the first person who tried it, probably made their heart explode or something. I don't know.
it would have done something. I will say
Yeah,
that.
it would have been great. So, speaking of wrestling, I just wanted to bring this up real quick. Did you see that Tony Khan was whining again that he still thinks WWE is tampering?
Here's my thing. I don't want to hear the word tampering in professional wrestling. I think it's a joke. I think it's a joke due to the fact that this isn't a professional sports league like the NBA or pro football where there's rules in
Hmm.
regards to a CBA that prevent this from happening.
Right.
These are independent companies who have people under contract. There is no CBA rule. This is just kind of like this whole tampering shit in pro wrestling is kind of like more of a gentleman shake or a ethics thing, however you want to spin it. I really don't give a shit. At the end of the day, just because you're under contract with, I don't know, WWE, ROH, which is technically AEW, AAA, New Japan, CMLL, MLW, TNA,
NWA, TNA,
don't give a shit.
Alphabet Soup.
All these, if you can if Triple H wants to talk to somebody who's near in the last year of their contract and just throw out the idea, hey, are you going to stay with AEW or would you ever consider coming to WWE because we would like to have you? Let us know. We can have a talk. You know, whatever the case may be, poaching people from other promotions, it's been happening for fucking decades.
Yeah.
This is the same thing where like I'm not a big fan of the Forbidden Door shit because the Forbidden Door was broken down decades ago, to be honest with you. Um,
There's literally only one forbidden door in wrestling right now, and that's between AEW and WWE. And the problem is one side doesn't give a shit.
no. And like that's I can go on a whole top up with Forbidden Door, but I won't go down that rabbit hole today. I don't have the energy. But yeah, the tampering, I don't want to hear about this tampering shit because he could do the same thing. If he knows he gets word from a friend of a friend that, hey, so and so only has 7 months left on their contract and they only have a 30-day no compete clause. Hey, Tony Khan can go reach out to that person and say, hey, what you thinking? You gonna stay? You thinking about trying something different? This is what we can do for you in AEW. By all means, go for it. But this is just like more of a gentleman's respectful thing. This whole tampering thing is a joke. There's no to me, it's not, there's no validity to it. There's nothing in no contract. Even if they would put something, the only way this would be tampering is if like Tony Khan put something in the wrestler's contract where as long as you are signed with AEW, you are not allowed to talk to anybody from any wrestling promotion about contracts or anything at all in regards to any of that shit while you are in this specific time frame. So whatever. I
Yeah.
just don't I don't want to hear about the tampering.
Yeah,
I'm a little tired of that shit.
it's really ridiculous. It's like I think you hit the nail on the head. You mentioned CBA.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is no CBA in any of these wrestling organizations. So I don't think that their legal definition of tampering, I don't think can be met when there's no CBA among these groups. I don't think it's tampering, at least in my heart. And somebody can feel free to correct me, of course. I mean, I don't know that I'm right, but I feel that AEW wrestler gets in touch with Triple H somehow. And Triple H says, well, if you'd be interested in coming over when your contract is up, we'd be interested in having a conversation. I don't think that could meet the definition of tampering either, because he's not making an offer. He's not making a promise.
He's not
He's
pitching
not saying
anything.
break your contract.
He's not
He's
pitching
saying
anything.
we'd like to talk when you can talk.
Yeah.
You know, like if Tony had Maddie and Nikki come up to him and say, hey, our buddies Kevin and Rami, that's Sami Zayn, of course, did their contracts are coming up soon. Do you want to talk to them? Like Tony's going to say no.
Yeah, he's not going to say no. Fuck no.
You know,
He's going
this
to
is
say
just
yes,
what,
and they're going to go back and tell him, hey,
yeah, this is more of Tony Khan being two things. One, terrible businessman. And two, somebody who does not see the forest for the trees. He is obsessed with what WWE is doing, or in what he perceives WWE is doing to him, which
Yeah.
is what I call professional victimhood. And he's not focused on what he should be doing for his own fucking company. And,
correct.
you know, I don't really want to get into it today, talking about the fact that they're not running All In London next year, which I think is a good thing. I
Yes,
don't
because
know. I don't know that they're going to sell a ton of tickets in Texas, but they could. I
I
could be
think
proven wrong on that one.
when I saw that, I feel like that is it's interesting. I mean, that is something where, that's next year is going to be seen as retirement year. But
Mm,
at the same aspect, unless WWE is already and not for a WrestleMania, not yet, because we know where WrestleMania is next year. It's in Vegas. Um, but if they are going to have one of their other big four in London next year, I mean, I can see maybe why he would move it out of London for a year to go to Texas, which is fine because it's actually in July and spreads it out better, which I think is a good thing as well.
yeah,
And not having like a week or two between two big pay-per-views that you're promoting for your company.
yeah,
But and maybe it's because they were like, hey, we have something going on during the time that you want to do your pay-per-view from some other sporting event. We can't say no to them because we've already made a commitment. Who knows? There could be multiple reasons why. But nonetheless, hey, let's see what they do next year in that stadium. You never know. It's down south and they can pull the fan base.
yeah. See, the things that make me go, that make me be skeptical, but also very much willing to be proven wrong. So they're going to do it in Arlington, where they're kind of sort of establishing a semi-residency kind of in the one building nearby.
Hmm.
That could have both a positive and a negative effect, quite frankly. Negative because people would be like, well, I've seen this now, but positive because they could actually build up a devoted fan base. I think it's definitely good that they're not going to do it in London, because the novelty of that's going to wear off. We're going to see that next week. There's no way that place is going to be nearly as full as it was last year. It just isn't. So you could predict that it would decrease again next year. So maybe by taking a year off, you won't have to worry about that. I'm also skeptical, of course, about them intending to run a stadium show in Australia, mostly just because I have no idea if they have a fan base in Australia. You know,
Yeah, not even
so.
sure.
But this I found funny than yesterday too. I saw this article yesterday on Cage Side Seats. So AEW's last pay-per-view of the year will be World's End, which will be Saturday, December 28th in Orlando at the Edition Financial Arena, which is on the campus of UCF.
Okay.
WWE is going to be running a house show in the Kia Center in Orlando the same night.
Interesting.
They announced that on Friday night at the end of SmackDown, because they were in that building. They were doing the whole "we'll be back again on blah blah blah," like they always do, usually always do when
Yeah.
they run a show in a building. They say "we'll be back on blah blah blah," because that's how you get people to want to come out again. Now again, it's just a house show. It's not a SmackDown or a Raw, and it's certainly not a pay-per-view, of course.
No.
The two buildings are located about 20 minutes apart.
Hmm.
this is the kind of thing that I'm sure is going to drive Tony Khan nuts.
Of course.
He's probably going to say that this is taken away from my business. This is blah blah blah. To which I would also say, you're running a pay-per-view. They're running a non-televised show. If you cannot get more people to come out to your pay-per-view than they can come out to get for a non-televised show, once again, I think the problem is you, not them.
And the other thing too is like you're in a pay-per-view. You should be able to outsell their house show, not just by asses in the seats, but also your pay-per-view buys
Exactly.
should be destroying a house show. You
Yeah.
know, house shows always don't have the top talent anyway going to them. Maybe one or two, but the rest of them are all the mid-card people for the most part showing up in there. So you should be absolutely fine if you market and advertise your pay-per-view the way you should,
Mhm.
you will be a-okay.
Yeah.
I just it's he likes to poke the bear in ways that you shouldn't do it. And the thing about it is like
You mean like calling WWE the Harvey Weinstein of wrestling?
yes. Like you're poking a bear that's been doing it for decades and is still around making millions upon millions of multi-millions of dollars nationwide and worldwide.
Hmm.
You're not going to put a bad stamp on their name to the extent where you're going to hurt the product that's you're not going to hurt that product in a manner I think he thinks he is trying to hurt the product or you know you know put negative publicity on WWE by saying the contract tampering or given they're the ones giving out the misinformation on the numbers of the seats and this that and the next thing like just stop because at the end of the day that doesn't help WWE in any manner really all you're doing right now, all he's doing is conceding. I'm going to say conceding. He is playing to the hand of the internet trolls. He is playing to the hand of the tribalism that is right now toxic on the interwebs in regards to fans of WWE and fans of AEW. He is not doing anything good for the company by doing this. um, and if you look at the history of professional wrestling in the US, when you have wrestlers who jump from WWE to other promotions, we can go back as far as TNA back in the day when Dixie Carter ran it and she brought all the WWE guys in. Did it work? Yes. But when you start worrying about what WWE is doing, you will see and soon find out how that is going to hurt your company more than help your company. So don't worry about WWE, whatever the case may be. Just run your company.
Yeah.
You have a company that is, listen, I don't care how much he pays. He's probably overpaying everyone in that fucking company.
He definitely.
Probably he's overpaying people who technically probably don't, I don't want to say deserve. They all deserve money, but probably not would
They
not
all
get would not get as paid as much in WWE than in AEW.
they
So
they
they all
all they all deserve money. There's no way any of them are earning or there's no way any of them deserve what they earn based upon because
based
wrestling
on, I guess, like what they've done in the industry and
right.
things of that nature. That's how I should have said
Wrestling
it.
is unfortunately an industry. I mean, unfortunately, I guess it's subjective. Based on that, you get what you're worth, like what you produce. There was a reason why Hulk Hogan and Steve Austin and John Cena were the top paid guys because they were the guy whose people paid money to see live, to see on pay-per-view, to buy their merch. You know,
Yeah.
I don't. There's probably no way that anybody in AEW, based upon the revenue they bring in, is worth what they're paid. Now that's a very hard thing to probably measure in a lot of ways too, but I'm sure WWE has a way to do it, and I feel pretty confident that AEW does not because they don't they're not a serious company. So
And it's just Listen, I want them to be around for another 5 years. There's a lot of wrestlers who I like on the AEW roster. And like, yes, we're critical of AEW a lot, but at the same point, you know, it's one of the things where when you're trending upward, but then get caught up in all the nonsense and you're not helping your product the way we believe you should. And like, listen, we're not businessmen. We're not VP, we're not a vice president of a football team and, you know, part of the board of directors of a European football team. And,
You were
you know,
just about to
this,
say we're not EVPs, weren't you?
yeah, I was gonna say EVPs. I stopped. Yeah, we're not EVPs of a company either. Like,
And
listen,
we
we
also
don't.
don't pretend to be EVPs either.
No, we don't pretend to be anything of it. But just the aspect of knowing about certain items of how businesses do work, both being in job industries that, what's the word I'm looking for? Like my company I work for is very it's a it's corporate. It's corporate USA. Like you work for a consulting company. How would what's the word terminology I should use for you? Like your job, like you're an accountant, but you're not really in like big corporate per se, but you're
No,
in
it's more small business. Yeah.
small business
Yeah.
aspect.
But it's still kind of my job to kind of be able to see if companies are, making money.
Yes. So as I was trying to get at, like you're able to look at small, medium, and big companies and see how they, work, as far as their funds are concerned. So it's not like we don't have any knowledge of what we're talking about, just into different aspects and, not running it or behind the scenes type of thing. But, we see the writing on the wall when it comes to our specific jobs, right? So it's like, yes, we're critical, but yet we know this is good for business. We have another professional wrestling company that's on national television. Um, and listen, no matter how many people watch the shows, they have fans engaged, not always in a good way, because the interwebs are very corrupt and toxic and all over the place. You get good stuff on there, but it seems like 70% of the time it's always negative. But
Mhm.
it's just to the fact that like us true wrestling fans, I'm not you use the word hardcore. I don't want to do that. Um, us
You're
true
He's not hardcore. He's not hardcore.
you know, us true wrestling fans that have been fans for decades just want you to focus on your company and your company only. Focus on your AEW itself, focus on your wrestlers, get people around you that can help. Don't get all these fucking yes men and women because that's not going to help your company. Be subjective to constructive criticism to help your company grow. Plain and simple. So, like, we could be critical all the time. There's other people who are critical of them and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, this is what happens when you go into business in a entertainment area of professional wrestling. This is how it's always going to be. You know, he should know better because his dad runs the Jacksonville Jaguars. And, I know his dad's been given heat for some of the decisions his GM has made in the past 5 to 6 years on coaches, this, that, and the next thing. So you definitely understand. I understand you're not going to make the right choice every single time, but don't stop getting in your own way um, as well. That's my other issue. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So yeah. I hate AEW. Hate's a strong word. I dislike AEW right now, as it currently is, for three basic reasons. One, booking matches and not stories or feuds.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's AEW fans out there who go, "What are you talking about? They're doing this and they're doing that." if you're going to talk to me about Tony Storm or Mariah May, for example, I'm just going to say, yeah. And you know why? Because it's ridiculous. It's gone way over the top. And Tony Storm now trying to be a face with this persona is not going to work. They need to kill this persona relatively soon.
Yeah,
That's just one example.
I agree with you. I think the Tony Storm thing, her character is going to need to be tweaked or changed shortly because it's her being a face and that persona is not that's a short term. That
Yeah.
cannot go work long term at all.
Yeah, because let me just again say this, because so many people are stupid when they started doing the gimmick, saying that she's doing Marilyn Monroe. No, she wasn't fucking doing Marilyn Monroe. Just because stop looking at her hair color.
I know.
She was doing Norma Desmond from Sunset Boulevard, the fading movie star who thinks she's still big. That's what the character was originally.
Yep.
That character is the villain of the movie in a lot of ways. If you've ever fucking watched Sunset Boulevard, which I'm assuming most of the people who are commenting on this shit haven't.
Probably.
That character is the villain. She commits murder at the end of the movie. Spoilers, sorry. It's a 75-year-old movie. If you haven't seen it, that's not my fault. She's to be pitied in some ways, but again, she's ultimately delusional. That's the whole point. So that character really can't be a face, you know?
Nope.
And obviously, anything with the Bucks and Tony Khan and the Elite, since they've been doing this whole, we're the EVPs and we know it. You know, that's what I'm talking about when I say that they're terrible at doing that stuff. So that's reason number one, just is that booking. Number two is the fact that they go balls to the wall all the time. Too many, and this is multiple things kind of rolled up in one. Too many kickouts on TV matches, too many false finishes, too many gimmick matches, just too much. Dial it down. If you're doing the same thing on TV that you're doing on pay-per-views, it doesn't make anything special and nothing stands out. You don't need to go out on TV and be like, I'm gonna get all my shit in. And then three is the over-reliance on people who just he thinks draw and don't draw.
Yeah.
The Bucks are number one on that list.
They're not drawing
AJ,
as much.
The Bucks are not draws.
They're not drawing like they used to for AEW right now.
Jack Perry is not a draw. Mercedes is showing that she is not a draw. There's really two draws in that company right now. Maybe three, maybe four. MJF, Osprey, and then maybe Swerve and Danielson. And Danielson's on his way out.
I would say, yeah, MGF, Osprey, and Swerve. Definitely those three specifically.
Yeah. Moxley is not a draw. Jericho is not a draw.
There's some ones that are questionable, but yeah, those three specifically, I think are there.
Orange Cassidy is not a draw.
No, Darby Allin is.
Darby Allin.
That he's an iffy one. Yeah.
Most every former WWE person they have that's on that roster right now is not a draw. There is a reason they are not working for WWE anymore.
I would say the closest one that could be a draw besides Danielson, since he's on his way out, would be Christian. But I think that story kind of is lost its luster in regards to what it was. And I don't think as many fans are buying into how they're telling that story right now.
That whole thing needs to end. I don't want to see Nick Wayne's mother ever again.
And in the flip side,
she alone makes that everything that associated with Christian terrible. And that's not even getting into the fact that Nick Wayne should not be on TV.
I'm indifferent on him. Sometimes I'm good with him. Sometimes I'm not so much. So it's a challenge with me and him right now. Talented, but we'll see. He's a TBD for me. To be determined for me. On the flip side, you'll have people say, well, WWE is doing all these false finishes, which I will have to defend them in this manner. Yes, they are being susceptible to these false finishes, but I feel like they're saving all those false finishes more for their main events on their Raw and SmackDown shows, and not so much every single match or all the matches on their shows. For example, I did not watch all of SmackDown Friday night. I turned on SmackDown for the tag match, which was well, technically the main event match or the last match of the night besides the whole Roman and Solo stuff. I don't call that a match. That's
Yes,
just a
because
brawl.
as Cornette even said, in the main event, well, not really main event because it wasn't a match because it never is anymore.
No, yeah, true. So the last match of the night between the Street Profits and DIY, which I thought was a good match. Yes. Were there too many false finishes? Of course, maybe a little bit more than normal, but they were plugging it. The guys wanted to make it a great match because it was the last night, the last match of the show. In their minds, they're going to think that it's the main event match, which it really was, of the night. And the match was for the number one contendership for the tag titles. So, yes, in a match like that, I was expecting multiple false finishes, so on and so on. But I'm okay with that if it's like the main event match. But when you start having two, three, maybe four matches on a weekly show that are doing too many false finishes, which I feel anything over five anymore is too much, maybe four. Um, yeah, then that's a little bit much. You're overdoing it. So save that shit for the pay-per-views, or if it's a main event, throw it in the main event by all means. I'm not gonna, it is what it is at this point. So I thought the tag match was really good. Those that they good chemistry, good spots, good moves, this, that, and the next thing, some good storytelling with certain items, certain parts of the match. I thought it was a good match. But, yeah, you're gonna have the false finishes that are too much, but let's just not put it in every goddamn match of the fucking TV show. Like it's not needed, you know? Save it.
Mm, yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
overdo it when you don't
Again,
need to.
I keep saying, yeah, I definitely want there to be two. I mean, at least two. It's hard to put TNA and certainly MLW, and NWA, and then certainly the non-American companies, so AAA, CMML, New Japan, on the same thing here. Say, I want there to be at least two viable wrestling companies where guys could go and go back and forth because we're Monday Night War era guys. That's what we grew up on, and to a certain extent, we were still there for like the end of the territory days, where it's like you could still
Yeah.
conceivably see somebody in a different promotion. I don't think people have to go back and forth and everything. And WWE deals with this problem. AJ and I were talking about it yesterday or Friday, one of the 2 days. I think it was Friday actually, now I think about it. We were talking about how like certain people are like barely been used. Like he was, I don't want to say dissing, but he was just expressing like he doesn't really care about like Odyssey Jones, pointing about who was drafted so long ago and they're only using him now. He was
Yeah.
expressing his dismay about the way Carmelo Hayes has been used, and I get that.
Yeah.
Um, it gets to a certain extent, there's only so much room on the show for even the people they have on the roster, which is why I still think it works to shuffle people back to NXT at times. I think you got to kind of use that
And
as
I
an off
think
ramp
that's
for some people sometimes.
and I think that's why they started doing that.
Yeah. But then, of course, the problem is, but yeah, it's like, how many people did they bring up from NXT at the most recent draft who have done next to nothing, if that, since they've been on the show? It's like Lyra Valkyria has been getting a mid card push, I guess is the best way you
Yeah.
can say it. AJ mentioned Blair Davenport, and I was like, well, I think she just wrestled on SmackDown. Um, so, but yeah, it's like she's not been seen a lot. It's like I think they're trying to do right, but there is still a bit of a this is the main event, this is not. He was also, I guess, kind of like not feeling the Bronson Reed stuff. And I get why.
I
They
like
haven't done, they
I
haven't
I
they
like
haven't done a
Bronson.
lot to they haven't done a lot to make Bronson Reed any more than a guy who's hard to beat but does lose a lot.
I think
So
him taking out
he thinks
Seth
they over
Rollins is a starting point for
he
that.
think yeah he thinks it's good that that's a way to try to get somebody over. And I said, yeah, the problem is Rollins will inevitably beat him when he comes back, and that kind of just goes, you know,
Yeah.
he thinks they overdid it.
Yeah, he
And I
mentioned that to
see
me
and I see and
too.
I see and I see his point. He's like, he keeps splashing him after the officials come out. I'm like, yeah, I guess that's to sell that he can't be controlled or this or that. But it's like, well, why don't they suspend him then? Mhm. You know,
Yep.
it was lacking a bit in logic. I was like, yeah,
It was.
they were looking more for impact.
Yes.
You know, they were basically trying to oversell to you. This guy's tough. This guy's scary. This guy isn't to be messed with.
He just took out one of the
This
top
guy can
guys.
squash you.
Yeah. He just took out one of your top guys.
Yeah.
You know.
And we know it's because Seth is not 100%. So, yeah. But it's like, so what are you going to have Bronson Reed keep doing in the meantime until Seth is ready to be kind of back on TV and everything? So, I get what he means. It's like there really is not enough room on the roster. And I know people have been critical of Cody's title reign, and I'm like, he hasn't had great heels to work against.
That's
Now the
WWE's fault.
problem is Roman's back as an ultra face, which he needed to be
100%.
because of where this went. But now you're going to force an Owens heel turn. You're going to force an Orton heel turn at some point. Obviously, he's on Raw fighting Gunther now because, okay,
Yeah.
Priest can't keep fighting Gunther now. He's got to fight his old Judgment Day guys, which again makes sense.
Yes.
I mean, if Seth was 100%, they might have moved Seth into a program with Gunther right now.
I think so, yeah.
Because obviously Punk McIntyre is not over.
No.
But see, now the problem is Cody's your main champion. He's holding the belt that is the WWE Championship.
Yes.
The one that you can say is still the one that traces back to 1963 and Buddy Rogers. You know?
Correct.
And now he's in the second most important program on his own show. Oh, not great.
No.
Not great. So they've got some work to do.
And the side note too is like I know he's not a fan of Joe Hendry. I get
I've
it.
never seen him, so
I like him. He doesn't like his gimmick. I
his
think
gimmick does seem to be one that I could see why not everybody would like.
it's that is one you either like it or you don't. There's no middle ground with his gimmick. I like it. He does not. And that's fine. That's fine. I think what they're doing, their partnership with TNA is good because there's been TNA wrestle. I mean, God, there's been NXT wrestlers who have shown up on TNA as well. So I definitely have been trying to tune in. I watch TNA anyway, but I've been, tuning into those specific episodes when I know they're on because I think it's good. It's good for both companies. Has it given a ratings boost to TNA to an extent, in a certain extent, yes. But the problem with that is that I think it's going to give them more credibility as a wrestling company to be working with WWE. The thing about TNA that's bad for them is the station that they're on. They're on Access. Not everyone gets Access. That's not one. That's more of a cable. And the way they have a lot of the cable companies have their tiers that might be on a higher tier. So it's not, I don't think that's a channel that's on like the most basic tiers of any cable provider really in the US. So they don't have a reach like AEW has. Like I wish TNA was on the CW for God's sakes, or something like that. I mean, sci-fi, I would take sci-fi for at this point or anything, or FX1. I think they would probably have more eyes on them if they were on one of the FX1 channels. But nonetheless, I think that's the biggest thing that's still hurting TNA is like the specific channel they're on. And, granted, they're owned by Anthem, so they own that specific channel. So, of course, they're going to put them on the channel they own. But it would be nice if they were they had a broader range in regards to that, because then they would get more eyes on the product than what they do with these NXT people from WWE coming over. But I think it's a good partnership in regards to it. I think it's helping both companies get some of them guys on NXT and those NXT people on TNA to have some crossover and get those people who need extra matches or can use extra work to be exactly that. I think, and I'm going to sound critical again, but I think AEW could have had that with TNA when they did their thing. And I think maybe TNA dropped the ball, maybe AEW dropped the ball, don't know. But I think that partnership could have been more than what it was. But now TNA, WWE's taking advantage of it.
Maybe TNA realized there was a better potential down the road to work with WWE.
Yeah,
I don't remember all what the timeline for all that kind of stuff is, but I can see where maybe somebody TNA felt, working with AEW has been great, but maybe we should just pump the brakes and see if we can do something with WWE first. And if that's the case, then it worked out for them.
Yeah,
Or
100%.
it seems to have.
I mean, it is not. I don't. People will be critical as this, oh, it's not having as much of an impact as we thought. Well, still, listen. Like I said, TNA, it's just not out there on a proper cable channel, and that's it. That's really it. So it's just the biggest thing for them. If they were on a different cable channel that was in more homes, I think you would see the bigger impact of that relationship than what it is now. But it's still helping, 100%. Still definitely helping. But yeah. Oh my God, we have been on forever. My clock says. Now,
I have no idea what you're referring to.
like, so for instance, when we hopped on, it was a little before 10 o'clock and it's 1:32. My little timer in the top corner says 3 hours and 41 minutes, but we did talk for about 15 minutes before then, but we've been on for over 3 hours today, and it doesn't really seem like it. Just like, playing a Lego game. You think it's an hour later when it's actually 3 hours,
Oh, Christ. Talking about tying it back in.
I just tied that back in sweetly. Hey, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I did that, Jeremy. I did that. Yeah. Oh, that was a funny one. Just popped in my head right now.
That was me. I did all that. I take all the credit. I deserve all the credit and none of the blame.
Yeah, I take all the credit for that tie-in, baby, right there. Yep, yep. 100%. But yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I mean, this happens. We talked about a lot of random stuff today, different topics.
Yeah.
So it was
I mean,
good. I mean,
us come prepared with a topic.
yeah, listen, fans, we try to do that. Maybe at one point we'll get more organized with shit like that.
Yeah, but let's be honest. Right now, it's more of an effort just to get us all on at the same time.
Yeah, summertime always seems to be a challenge for us, but we're making do. We're making do. We're getting there, slow but sure. You know,
I'm getting.
sometimes the turtle wins the race and not the rabbit. So that's what we're banking on. There we go. There we go. But yeah, I think we can wrap it up however you want to wrap it up.
These kids seem taller this year.
What kids?
Little League kids. I just turned on a Little League World Series game for the first time this year because the Pennsylvania team is playing right now against a team from Washington, and I think this is an elimination game.
Yes. It depends on what's Pennsylvania's record. I forget.
Oh no, it says elimination game in the box. But yeah, some of these kids look a lot taller than I can remember some of these kids being in year past. This one kid they said is 5'9". I don't remember if I was 5'9" at that age.
I don't remember if I was either. I can't remember. Yeah, there was one kid though, was like super short. It was like 5'2".
One kid
Oh,
from the Pennsylvania team has an Italian first name. Severio. I don't think I've ever seen that name before. And then he hits one down to the third baseman who promptly boots it and, well, not really boots it, but didn't glove it. And then he couldn't get the force at second in time. So now it's bases exploded, 1 out, bottom of the first, scoreless game between Washington and Pennsylvania. I see the New York team won earlier today in an elimination game.
Let the drama begin.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Holy crap. Oh. Oof. The called strike that I just saw.
Oh, I watched a couple games already. The strikes, yeah, dude. Where's your strikeout? Where's your strike zone there, ump? Like,
Yeah, because
is it the full body these years?
this is pretty close to straight on the camera shot. And that pitch that he just called a strike was much closer to the right-handed hitter's batter box than the inside of the plate because it's a
Yeah.
right-handed hitter. And then the guy threw like a breaking ball that maybe just nicked the outside corner of the plate. And what are they doing now while this inning is going on? They're showing Aaron Judge walking through the stands signing autographs.
There you go. Oh yeah, the Yankees play Detroit.
They
in
play
that
the Tigers in this game. They're going to make me watch a goddamn Sunday night game. Good thing House of the Dragon is over, so I don't have any conflicts. But I just hate watching Sunday night baseball, mainly because Eduardo Perez's voice annoys me.
Gotcha.
It's also really funny the way the Yankees have been playing lately. They had that horrible ass game against your White Sox on Monday, then won the next two games. They shut out the Tigers Friday night and then got shut out yesterday in a game where when I was watching it, it looked like they didn't realize they were playing a game. They
That's
looked
always
that
the same.
pathetic. Well, I have a confirmation bias with the Yankees that when they're facing a pitcher they've never faced before, doesn't matter who were actually on the team or anything, but like the Yankees, when they face a hitter they've never faced before, are horrible. I have no idea how true that actually is. I don't know how easy that could ever be for me to go look up and everything. You know, it's like you'd have to look at almost like every single game to see, did they face this guy previously? But the guy they faced yesterday, I did look at the matchup thing on the MLB app, and literally none of them had any at bats against them. But the guy came in with an ERA over 5. They got, I think, 4 hits in the whole game. Obviously, that guy didn't pitch the whole game, but still.
Yeah, they made him look good.
They
made a guy who's mediocre look really good. I hate that shit. I hate when that happens.
You know, it's funny. You say they made a guy who's mediocre look good. I would go so far as to say they made a guy who's bad look good.
Yeah, that happens to you sometimes. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, there's a pass ball and there's a hit to center field, and I think we got a 3-0 lead now for the Pennsyltuckians.
There you go. Good job, Kentucky. All right, so my great lead in to time flying by, playing the Lego game.
And now the part of the Little League World Series that I hate the most.
Uh-oh.
When they show the parent reactions in the stands and they're all cheering and hugging each other, and fuck the parents.
Fans, that will be a topic for another show.
I just have a psychotic hatred of parents at Little League World Series games because they always seem to want to try to make it all about themselves.
Listen, that happens at almost every youth sports in the past 20 years these days. It's gotten worse.
I know, so please stop encouraging it. And the way you stop encouraging is by not showing it. Show the reaction of the kids.
Yeah, show the dugout, you know?
Yes. It's
Maybe
supposed
show
to be about celebrating kids playing sports. Show me the kids being excited, god damn it.
Yeah, I don't want to see the parents all the time.
This kid's favorite baseball player is Brandon Marsh. Oh, he's a Philly. Well, yeah, but didn't he used to play for the Angels? Wow, your favorite player is Brandon Marsh? That's almost as bad as the kids from York, Pennsylvania a few years ago. I remember all of them had favorite players as Orioles because York is actually closer to Baltimore than Philly or Pittsburgh or anywhere else. Yeah. And then I saw a couple of kids saying that their favorite player was Jonathan Scope, and I'm like, the guy who had 2 or 3 good seasons, and now he's not even in the game anymore. So it's like, I hope he's not your favorite player anymore.
Probably not. Definitely probably
some
not.
of these kids just seem to be really terrible at picking favorite players.
Hey,
if you're a Phillies fan and your favorite player is not Bryce Harper, you need to explain to me why.
Hey, it's also too like how those cities. I don't want to go on their tangent, but that's how those cities market their players too. That's the other thing. I think that's how some of these.
Bryce Harper is one of the most marketable players in all of baseball. So
So I think some of these markets try to brand some of their other players that are not as the top players. So I think some of the kids gravitate for them towards them
Yeah.
as well.
It's like, are the Yankees going out of their way to promote somebody over Judge, Soto, and Cole? No, not really.
No, no, not right now. Nope. But
So,
all right, fans,
ah,
when we drop this, my great lead-in was destroyed by the Little League World Series, but that's all right. I'll take the L when I get it. But I took the
you get.
W, so it's all right.
Let's just put it. Well, let's just put it this way. Joe did tie the ending back into what we talked about at the beginning, and then I ruined it.
Yeah.
And
Darth
I take
Path.
and I take
Just
and I would like to say that I take full responsibility for that.
rain on my
But
parade.
as a horrible general manager on an episode of Kitchen Nightmares once said, when everything was clearly his fault, why would I take responsibility for that?
Of course. All right, fans, we'll be posting this during the course of the week, probably Wednesday or Thursday this week for it. So look, that's when it will drop. I posted one late Friday evening because I was super busy with work this week. But with that being said, when you watch it, press that subscribe, catch all our episodes, make sure you're getting the alerts when we drop it. And as our friend would say, I hope you finished with us.